Chapter 1. Late at night, it was pitch black, but the mountains were not calm. Ferocious beasts roamed about, their roars shook the mountains and rivers, the trees trembled and leaves rustled down. Another beast roar, Lin Feng shrunk his neck and dusted off the leaves that fell on his body. Looking at the mountains in the darkness, he sighed in his heart, this place is really completely different from Earth. Lin Feng sat under a tree in a daze. A few fierce-looking youths in front of him all looked at him with disdain. A little fatty even shouted at Lin Feng, "We didn't let an outsider like you stay in the village for you to eat, hurry up and get to work." Lin Feng came back to his senses and didn't say anything, dusting off his butt and standing up to leave. Behind him, the little fatty snorted, "Useless trash, his stamina is not even as good as a child, he should be thrown into the mountains to be eaten by ferocious beasts." Lin Feng curled his lips, "I am an earthling who crossed over, how can I compete with you bunch of animals in stamina? This heaven primal world is a world ruled by cultivators. This wolf village in front of him is only a small village in the vast mountains. Naturally there are no cultivators, but every single villager trains hard in martial arts and builds up their strength, even the women and children are no exception. Only like this can they survive in this world where ferocious beasts roam and even primordial species roam about. Just like right now, even though it is late at night, the strong youths in the village still have to go into the mountains to hunt. Many prey are used to coming out at night, even though entering the mountains at night is full of danger, the rewards are also greater. The villagers are already used to this kind of life. The children who stay in the village don't sleep. They gather together to compete and play, waiting for their parents to return from hunting. Little kids with clear noses casually play with stone weights that weigh over 100 kilograms like toys. A group of teenagers are competing to see who can lift the huge cauldron that weighs over 1,000 kilograms at the entrance of the village. Lin Feng looked at this group of little animals and sighed in his heart. Compared to them in terms of strength, he really does seem like trash. But this won't make Lin Feng feel depressed. Even though he is constantly being talked about by people behind him, he still relied on his ability to temporarily stay in this small mountain village called Wolf Village. What really makes his balls hurt is that there is one more thing in his mind. Super Founder System. At first, Lin Feng was happy, thinking about the benefits of transmigration, but the system's first explanation made him feel cold. System main mission. Host, establish a sect. Establish the largest sect in this world, and become the first founder. The main mission is divided into different stages. Each stage needs to be completed within a limited time. If the host is not completed within the time limit, the host will be directly killed. Lin Feng looked at the system's explanation, especially the last sentence, "Kill the host." He was speechless for a long time. Finally, he squeezed out a few words from between his teeth. "I bought a watch last year." After his anger subsided, Lin Feng helplessly read the quest details. He was not prepared to take the risk of challenging the system. He wanted to see if the system could kill him. He had just arrived in this world, and he did not want to die again. Main Mission 1.0. Accept 4 personal disciples. Mission explanation. Even if you're a rogue cultivator, you'll have to take in a disciple if you want to inherit your legacy. A sect's most important resource would always be people, disciples with outstanding talent. Great teachers produce great disciples. Great teachers are hard to find, and great disciples are even harder to find. Mission time limit, 1 year. If the mission is not completed within the time limit, the host will be killed. What a scam! Lin Feng sighed. He was a newcomer who had just transmigrated. He was as tender as a fresh cabbage. He should be the one looking for a powerful master to be his master. Brother system, you should at least give me a secret manual so that I can take in disciples. I'm so poor, what do you want me to teach others? Bluff and brag? What was even worse was that the system said there was a novice gift, but it told him that the gift system had malfunctioned. The novice gift was delayed. This made Lin Feng sigh. There was no such thing as a scam. The open exchange system was full of all kinds of good stuff. Elixirs, magic treasures, martial arts, and supernatural powers. There were only things that you could not think of. The problem was that everything needed points to be exchanged, and Lin Feng did not even have a single point. He could only roll his eyes at the system. Just as Lin Feng was cursing in his heart, there was a sudden commotion at the village entrance. It looks like the hunting team had returned. The youngsters waiting in the village all cheered and went to the village entrance to welcome them. Lin Feng glanced at them indifferently. He was shocked to find that the group of strong youngsters who had returned from hunting all returned empty-handed. Not only did they not have any prey, even their weapons were gone. For these villagers, weapons were their second life. Living in this mountain, it was impossible to survive without weapons. The corners of Lin Feng's mouth hooked up into a hard-to-detect smile. There seems to be a story. Thinking to there, he also walked towards the crowd at the village entrance. Before he even got close, he heard someone roar, "Lang Feng is our wolf village's hope. Now that he was heavily injured by the people of Stone Village, we definitely cannot let this go." Lin Feng raised his eyes and looked over. He saw a youngster in the middle of the crowd sitting on the ground with a dispirited expression. His body was covered in wounds, and his eyes emitted a cold light of hatred. This is the genius that the people of Wolf Village keep talking about? Lin Feng secretly observed. He had heard of this Lang Feng for a long time. He was the idol of all the youngsters in Wolf Village and was seen as the hope of the village. Today was the first time Lin Feng saw him in person. Even though Lang Feng was injured right now and his expression was dispirited, his qi and blood were abundant. Even though his physical strength couldn't compare to that of truth cultivators, he was definitely at the top of the secular martial artists. According to the public opinion of the Heaven Primal world, to have this level at such a young age, if he cultivated qi, he would also have a future. In the end, truth cultivators were guiding the spiritual energy of heaven and earth into their bodies, condensing mana and strengthening their own foundations. Without batting an eyelid, Lin Feng brought up his super founder system. There was a disciple talent detector inside. He pointed at Lang Feng and pressed confirm. The target's aptitude is too low, unable to become the host's direct disciple. Lin Feng's brows furrowed. This system was too picky. He originally wanted to randomly accept 4 disciples and fool the system's 1-year deadline. In the end, he could just expel these disciples who were there to make up the numbers. But looking at it now, wanting to find a loophole in the system wasn't that easy. Even Lang Feng, this kind of genius youngster famous in the surrounding villages, didn't have the qualifications. If Lin Feng wanted to accept 4 disciples to complete the system's mission, the difficulty was really too great. 1 year's time, 1 year's time? Lin Feng sighed gloomily. In the crowd, an old man beside Lang Feng had an ashen face and snorted, "Lang Feng is my grandson. Of course this matter can't be settled like this. But not now. Recently there's been a lot of activity in the mountains. Looks like a mountain treasure is about to appear. First get the mountain treasure, then we'll deal with Stone Village." There were often fights between clans in the village. Lin Feng had no interest in this, but when the 2 words, mountain treasure, entered his ears, his heart slightly moved. Lin Feng was pondering over the mountain treasure when he suddenly heard someone in the crowd curse in a low voice, "I don't know how Stone Village raised such a little monster. He's not even 4 years old, a little baby, yet he can actually defeat our village's genius Lang Feng. This is really strange." Lin Feng's eyes suddenly lit up. A little baby that's not even 4 years old defeated this Lang Feng in front of him? Lang Feng could already be considered to have some talent, but the person who injured him was not even 4 years old. What kind of talent would that person have? The little fatty beside Lin Feng cursed in a low voice, "Damn brat, you must kill him." Glancing at him, Lin Feng agreed, yeah. In his heart, however, he was thinking that this little baby might be able to obtain the system's approval. Thinking of this, Lin Feng quietly withdrew from the crowd. Right now, he wished that he could immediately grow wings and fly to Stone Village, but he didn't dare to leave the village alone. Otherwise, he would directly become a meal for the vicious beasts in the mountains. At this moment, a mechanical and stiff voice suddenly rang in Lin Feng's mind. "Novice gift released. Do you want to check it immediately?" Lin Feng stared blankly for a moment, then his heart was overjoyed. He never felt that the dull and stiff system voice could actually be so pleasant to listen to. Finding a place with no one around, Lin Feng opened the gift bag. Novice gift. The host has obtained a basic cultivation of Qi Disciple Level 4, has obtained a lottery ticket, has obtained 300 exchange points, has obtained the Tao Technique Secret Manual 9 Heavens Thunder Technique, has obtained the Divine Ability 9 Heaven Thunder Summoning. Lin Feng was stunned for a moment. A warm current fell from the top of his head, straight through his chest, and quickly rushed through a hidden acupuncture point in his body. Within the human body, there are 12 important acupuncture points. Cultivators call them the 12 story floors. The cultivation of Qi Disciple stage is divided into 12 levels, all for the sake of opening the 12 story floors. Every time an acupuncture point is opened, the spiritual energy will be transformed into mana, and the cultivator's mana will increase by a level. Right now, Lin Feng felt that the warm current was continuously advancing, all the way until the 4th acupuncture point in his body was opened, then it disappeared. Following Lin Feng's breathing, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth was rapidly absorbed into his body, circling around the 4 opened acupuncture points. Each acupuncture point was like a constantly revolving universe of stars. The spiritual energy was constantly being transformed into Lin Feng's own mana, just like the beginning of the universe, the evolution of all living things. Lin Feng felt his entire body become light. With a thought, the mana in his acupuncture points was like a spring, an explosive power was ready to explode. After a long time, Lin Feng gradually adapted to the changes in his body. He felt relieved in his heart. Finally, I have some ability to protect myself. But remembering that the system's ultimate goal was to establish the first sect in history, and that he wanted to become the first founder in history, Lin Feng suddenly felt a mountain of pressure and hurriedly checked the other items in the newbie package. Lucky draw chance. Lin Feng looked around. Other than the exchange system, there was also a lucky draw system, but it was grayed out, not yet activated, so he didn't have to think about it for the time being. Currently, he could only hope that the purchasing power of the 300 exchange points was higher. While thinking, Lin Feng entered the exchange system. Previously, he was poor, so he didn't have the heart to look at the price. Looking at the price carefully, Lin Feng cursed the system for being black-hearted. The lowest grade bottle of Qi Nurturing Pills cost 10 exchange points, and a slightly spiritual smelted iron sword cost 30 points. Even a basic set of clothing, such as a feather robe and a star crown, cost 50 points. The most basic spells, such as Fireball Technique, Lightning Palm, and other common goods, cost 100 points. As for those high-grade goods with a string of zeros on their butts, Lin Feng didn't even dare to look at them, afraid that he would get dizzy. Lin Feng looked at the pitiful 300 points in his current exchange points column and shook his head. My starting capital is too little. Luckily, the newbie package gave a Tao Technique manual and a spell, or else Lin Feng would really be at a loss. Tao techniques were the foundation of cultivation, and their main purpose was to raise one's level, while spells were practical martial arts or spells that had many wonderful uses. What was surprising was that the 9 Heavens Thunder technique in the gift package was of a very high grade, and the current exchange system couldn't even exchange for it. He had to upgrade the system before he could exchange for it. As for the system upgrade, it would only be activated after Lin Feng completed a certain number of system missions, and it was still too early to say. The 9 Heavens Thunder technique was one of the top lightning-type techniques of the Heaven Primal world. However, it had been lost for many years. In the past, the seniors who had succeeded in cultivating this technique had all been able to do whatever they wanted with it. According to the description, the newbie package will randomly give a Tao technique. To be able to get the 9 Heavens Thunder technique, Lin Feng can be considered lucky. Even though the purchasing power of 300 exchange points is limited, but right now the gloominess in Lin Feng's heart was completely swept away. With such a top-notch Tao technique manual, if it wasn't for that damned main mission, Lin Feng would definitely first find a place with no one to train his skills before coming out to kill in all directions. But since he's going to take in a disciple now, then it's a different story. Dissatisfaction is dissatisfaction, but Lin Feng very quickly adjusted his mentality and swiftly took action. Without batting an eyelid, after asking for the path to Stone Village, he quietly left Wolf Village without alerting anyone. Right now the two villages are in a hostile state. Lin Feng, who has already become a cultivator, is not afraid of the people of Wolf Village making trouble, but he is afraid that they will expose his identity in front of the people of Stone Village. Luckily right now the people of Wolf Village are all gathered at the village entrance, discussing spiritedly because of the matter of Lang Feng being injured. Lin Feng circled out from the back of the village. No one noticed his movements. Walking on the road, Lin Feng did not hesitate at all, directly investing 50 exchange points to buy a set of clothes for himself. How could Lin Feng, who came from Earth, not know the logic of Buddha needs gold? People need clothes. If you want to sell something, publicity and packaging must first be done well. Lowering his head to look at his own feathered clothes and star crown, white robe with wide sleeves, the image of a sage-like master, Lin Feng nodded his head in satisfaction. The system's things are expensive, but the quality and appearance are really indisputable. When Lin Feng arrived at the entrance of Stone Village, the first thing that entered his eyes was half a huge dead tree. The diameter of the tree trunk was more than 10 meters, and the whole body was charred black. Lin Feng sized it up with a glance, guessing that this is a lightning-struck tree. Many years ago it was once struck by lightning. The old tree's huge treetop and exuberant life force were all destroyed. Right now only an 8 or 9 meter tall tree stump was left on the ground. But just looking at the size of the existing tree trunk, one can imagine how huge the tree was when it was alive. The whole body of the dead tree was charred black, without any signs of life. At this time, an old man walked over, coughing while saying, "This tree has already withered for 10 years. He walked in front of Lin Feng, a pair of eyes sizing up Lin Feng. "This little old man is this Stone Village's village chief. I wonder how I can help this cultivator?" Lin Feng faintly smiled, his body naturally exuding an otherworldly and proud aura. Coupled with his outfit, white robe with wide sleeves, feather clothes and star crown, his appearance is completely impeccable, definitely the style of an otherworldly master. Discover target, suitable to become host's direct disciple. Lin Feng was just about to speak. Hearing the sudden sound of the system notification, he almost choked on his saliva. The Stone Village's old village chief looked strangely at Lin Feng, but he was so scared that he trembled. He saw Lin Feng's two eyes emit a green light, staring at the village entrance like a hungry wild wolf howling. At the village entrance, a pink, jade-like, snow-white, adorable child was doing his best to pull on the tail of a big yellow dog, his childish voice clear and loud. "Yeah, don't run." The system sound in Lin Feng's mind continuously rang. Talent system has finished organizing. Target number 1's data is as follows. Bone root 10, comprehension 8, willpower 8, luck 8. Summary: target's talent is extremely high, recommended to take him in as a disciple, carefully instruct him, he will definitely become a pillar of the sect. Lin Feng didn't see anything else. His eyes were fixated on the blood-red number 10 behind the bone root. Bone root is the innate talent of a cultivator, and the maximum value of this talent system is 10. What does a bone root of 10 mean? For example, when other people run, they need to run 100 meters from the starting point to the finishing point. Under the situation where the finishing point is the same, this little guy started from the starting point of 90 meters. No wonder he was able to beat that Lang Feng to a pulp before he was even 4 years old. At this time, the little guy also discovered Lin Feng. He looked over with a blank face, blinking his big eyes, completely like a cute Shota. Lin Feng smacked his lips. Not only is this guy's bone root strong to the point of defying the heavens, his comprehension, willpower, and luck are all super genius level. Isn't taking this kind of guy as a disciple a bit too much pressure? Lin Feng pondered, his face gradually revealing a warm and sunny smile. If people familiar with Lin Feng from his past life saw him reveal this kind of smile, they would definitely immediately hide as far away as possible. Normally, when Lin Feng smiles like this, it means that someone is about to be tricked until their egg yolks break. Chapter 2. Making up his mind, Lin Feng looks at the old village chief beside him, the impeccable demeanor of an expert once again appearing. Lin Feng calmly said, I had a sudden impulse a few days ago and suddenly felt that a person who is fated with me is in this mountain, so I came to look for him. I didn't think that I would actually meet him in a small mountain village like this." Saying this, Lin Feng's gaze turns towards the little guy who is dragging his dog tail at the entrance of the village with a blank face, sighing in his heart. "When other people are protagonists, they will bring grandpas with them, but I have to be someone else's grandpa." However, thinking of a group of heaven-defying protagonists as his disciples, in the future when something happens he can let this group of heaven-defying disciples go on a killing spree in all directions, Lin Feng's mood instantly becomes a lot better. This is the first one. The old village chief stares blankly for a moment, also looking towards the little guy. Taoist priest is talking about him? Lin Feng indifferently nods. I was originally wondering where this fated person came from. Now that I've seen this child, I finally understand the whole story. He sighed and told the story that he had prepared beforehand. In this story, Lin Feng once had a disciple he was proud of, but because he couldn't see through the devil of love, he failed to cross the tribulation and was reincarnated. Lin Feng has always been looking for a disciple after reincarnation, hoping to continue the fate of master and disciple. In the end, after a long 100 years, he finally found him today. The old village chief is stunned by his words, looking towards the little guy in disbelief. The little guy is the reincarnation of your disciple? Lin Feng faintly nods, looking at the little guy with a gaze that is hard to detect but just the right amount of love and concern. Lin Feng has done his best, but in his heart he is not optimistic. Because he noticed that under the old village chief's stunned expression, there is clearly a strong sense of vigilance. The old man even puts one hand behind his back, slightly shaking it towards the little guy. Lin Feng secretly frowns. He feels a familiar aura fluctuation from the old man's body. The fluctuation of a truth cultivator's magic power. The old man in this small mountain village turned out to be a cultivator. Although he was only at the 3rd level of Qi refinement stage, he was a genuine cultivator. Cultivators were different from warriors. If one wanted to become a cultivator and guide the spiritual energy of heaven and earth into one's body, they would need to cultivate Tao techniques. Wolf Village's Lang Feng could also be considered to have cultivation talent, but he was still just a martial artist and not a cultivator. Previously, the old village chief had intentionally concealed his presence and Lin Feng hadn't noticed it. Now that he had raised his guard against Lin Feng, his body naturally had mana ripples which was immediately detected by Lin Feng. Lin Feng secretly sighed. Even though the old man might not be his opponent, he wants to be Xiao Budian's master, to be the legendary old grandpa and not to be a human trafficker. Forcefully snatching people obviously won't work. Lin Feng looked at Xiao Budian and asked indifferently, "Qing Feng, are you willing to return to your master's sect now?" The old village chief's expression did not change. The hands behind his back almost broke from shaking. Xiao Budian scratched his head in a daze, looking at Lin Feng and then looking at the old village chief, somewhat bashfully said, "Yeah, I'm not called Qing Feng, I also don't want to leave the village." Lin Feng was silent. The atmosphere instantly became stiff. The old village chief nervously looked at him. The mana ripples around his body became more and more obvious, ready to act at any time. "Forget it. Your wisdom has not been awakened and you don't remember the matters of your past life. Master won't force you." Just as the old village chief was about to collapse, Lin Feng lightly sighed and finally opened his mouth. "But Master has calculated that our fate has not ended yet. After today we will meet again." Lin Feng took out a purple talisman from his chest and handed it to Xiao Budian. "This talisman, Master will leave it for you to protect yourself. If you encounter danger, throw this talisman at the enemy and it will protect you. You and I will meet again if fate wills it." Finished speaking, Lin Feng didn't delay any longer. He turned around and left. When he passed by the old village chief, Lin Feng casually glanced at him. The corners of his mouth revealed a smile that was not a smile, but he didn't say anything and directly left. The old village chief broke out in a cold sweat from fear. He knew that Lin Feng had already seen through him, but he couldn't see the depth of Lin Feng's cultivation. This made him feel waves of lingering fear. He intuitively felt that Lin Feng's cultivation was much higher than his. He was afraid that Lin Feng was a great cultivator of foundation building stage or even golden elixir period. Truth cultivators can normally restrain their aura, but the slightest fluctuation will be detected by same level or higher level truth cultivators. But Lin Feng is an exception. This may be one of the system's hidden benefits. According to the system's explanation, as long as Lin Feng doesn't make a move himself, in other people's eyes he's no different from a normal person. Even truth cultivators with higher cultivation than him won't be able to see through him. This is extremely beneficial for Lin Feng's posturing. Leaving the line of sight of Xiao Budian and the old village chief, Lin Feng immediately used the stealth technique and sneaked back to Stone Village. The cheapest small spell in the exchange system costs 100 exchange points. After careful consideration, Lin Feng didn't choose an attack or defense spell, instead exchanging for the stealth technique. It can hide his body, as long as he doesn't do anything else he won't show himself. In Lin Feng's opinion, if this spell is used properly, it's very practical. The old village chief's reaction was a bit strange, making Lin Feng suspicious. Lin Feng silently snuck into Stone Village. The environment was pretty much the same as Wolf Village, only that compared to Wolf Village's gloomy mood, Stone Village's was overjoyed. The empty space in the middle of the village was filled with the corpses of all kinds of fierce beasts. The villagers from the elderly to the children were all smiling from ear to ear. Lin Feng found the stone house where the village chief's house is. Just as he entered the courtyard, he saw Xiao Budian holding a small porcelain bowl, using a small wooden spoon to drink milk. A child at the courtyard entrance shouted, "Wow, Xiao Budian, you're drinking milk again? You're already 3.5 years old now." Yeah. Xiao Budian was greatly embarrassed, hugging the small bowl and using his white and tender little hands to block it, not letting the older children see. His little face was flushed red, his long eyelashes lightly trembling, explaining without much confidence, "You guys saw wrong, Ishu was drinking water." The group of children laughed loudly. Lin Feng was also slightly amused by this cute Xiao Budian. Ignoring those laughing children, he directly crossed the courtyard to the side of the stone house. His ears twitched and he heard the old village chief say, "In the blink of an eye, 3 years have passed, Xiao Budian is also 3.5 years old." An old woman's voice sounded in the house. "It should be the village chief's wife. You let Xiao Budian reject that Taoist priest? Will there be trouble? Do you think Xiao Budian is really the reincarnation of that Taoist priest's disciple?" The old village chief muttered to himself, "I originally thought that Taoist priest was someone from the Shi family helping Shi Tianyi, or someone from Shi Tianyi's maternal grandfather's Yu family, coming to find Xiao Budian to eliminate the roots, but now it doesn't look like it. As for the reincarnation of a disciple..." The old village chief hesitated for a moment. "You also know, Xiao Budian was born extraordinary, that's a natural-born foundation establishment stage cultivator. Moreover, it's the legendary Supreme Tao Foundation that surpasses the ancients and dazzles the contemporaries. To say that he's the reincarnation of a great cultivator seems to make sense." The village chief's wife sighed and said, "It's a pity that his Supreme Tao Foundation was snatched away by Shi Tianyi. That's a brother from the same sect, how could he be so heartless? Xiao Budian wasn't even half a year old at that time, truly a bitter child." The old village chief seriously said, "In short, I promised his father that I would definitely take good care of Xiao Budian. That Taoist priest's background is unknown after all, it's best to be careful. Xiao Budian's past is only known by the two of us, we definitely can't leak it, otherwise Xiao Budian will be in danger." Outside the house, Lin Feng was beaming with joy as he listened. Xiao Budian, there's a 90% chance that he's a son of heaven-level character. As for that Shi Tianyi who snatched his Tao Foundation, he belongs to the type of archenemy villain. No wonder this kid's root bone could reach the maximum value of 10, natural-born foundation establishment stage. Moreover, it's a Supreme Tao Foundation of the highest grade. If this kind of talent isn't the maximum value, then no one can have the maximum value. However, his Tao Foundation has already been snatched away, so why is his root bone still at 10? Could it be that his Tao Foundation can still be regenerated? Or perhaps after he cultivates Tao techniques, when he advances to the foundation establishment stage, he can still establish a Supreme Tao Foundation? While Lin Feng was thinking, he quietly left Stone Village, arriving at the mountain road not far from the village entrance. Taking out 9 resplendent purple crystals from his pocket, arranging them on the mountain road according to a certain pattern, Lin Feng sighed. Being an old grandpa isn't that easy. The 300 exchange points from the novice gift package, Lin Feng used 50 points to exchange for a set of clothes, 100 points to exchange for a stealth technique. The remaining 150 points, he invested it all on these purple crystals. Looking towards the direction of Wolf Village, Lin Feng rubbed his nose. If Wolf Village wants to attack Stone Village, this should be the only way. Finishing his preparations, Lin Feng started to ponder over his next move. Just as he was thinking, a huge sound suddenly exploded from the depths of the mountain forest, as if a clap of thunder exploded on flat ground. In the depths of the mountain forest, a purple light shot into the sky. One look and it's obvious that it's an extraordinary treasure. Thinking about the birth of the mountain treasure that the people of Wolf Village mentioned, Lin Feng was dumbstruck. This is prepared for that Xiao Budian, right? A blessing of 8, even though it's not the maximum value, it still can't be underestimated. His eyeballs turning, a sunny and warm smile once again appeared on Lin Feng's face, quickly rushing towards the place where the mountain treasure was born. Chapter 3. Lin Feng sprinted through the forest and rushed to the place where the purple light appeared as fast as he could. It was a rock protruding from the cliff. The grayish-black rock emitted a purple light that flickered rhythmically like a person's breathing. Every time the purple light flickered, there would be a low rumbling sound of thunder. Lin Feng scanned the surroundings and didn't find anyone lying in ambush. His luck wasn't bad. It seemed like he was the first to arrive. Lin Feng quickly climbed up the cliff and grabbed the rock with one hand like a hook. He didn't use any spells with his other hand and just used his transcendence energy to punch the protruding rock. The rock separated from the cliff and fell to the bottom. Lin Feng went down the cliff and found the rock. Although it was separated from the cliff, the rock was still flashing with purple light as if it was alive and emitted bursts of thunder. Lin Feng smashed the rock and revealed the treasure hidden inside. It was a purple crystal the size of a soccer ball on Earth. The rumbling of thunder came from it. The surface of the purple crystal was uneven and full of bumps and hollows. It wasn't regular. After searching for a while, Lin Feng discovered that this purple crystal was still not the treasure itself. It looked like a jade wrapped in a layer of stone. Lin Feng slowly injected his transcendence energy into the purple crystal and tried to connect with the treasure inside. Boom, 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 boom. Lin Feng only felt that he had entered a world of thunder. As far as the eye could see, there were flashes of thunder and lightning. There was a boundless fear and pressure. Berserk thunderbolts, ancient divine punishment, ferocious lightning, and prehistoric heavenly punishment shook the heavenly souls of everyone who faced them. They continuously trembled, but they still had to automatically pounce forward. Then, their souls would scatter and scatter. It was a kind of power that was like Mount Tai crushing an egg. When the mountain pressed down, it would be crushed into powder in an instant. Lin Feng was shocked. The 9 Heavens Thunder technique automatically activated. It wasn't to resist or assimilate, but to control. I am the master of all thunder and lightning, and I control the thunder and lightning of the heavens. It seemed like only a moment, but it also seemed like a long time. Lin Feng regained consciousness. He looked at the purple crystal in his hand. It had been split in half from the middle, revealing a pale golden pearl in the middle. The sound of thunder and the flashing lightning had already disappeared, leaving only the fist-sized pearl flickering with a pale golden radiance. It looked incomparably calm, but Lin Feng could feel that the pearl contained an incomparably frightening amount of lightning attribute spiritual energy. If all these thunder attribute spiritual energy were to explode, it would be enough to blow the mountain range where Lin Feng was at this moment into a sunken basin. The exchange system had exactly the same thing, called the Heaven Thunder Moon Jade, requiring a full 2,000 exchange points. According to the system's explanation, this thing was extremely rare. It required thousands of heavenly thunders to strike the same rock in succession, and only then would there be a 1% chance that it would be born. It contained a huge amount of lightning element spiritual energy essence, And for cultivators who practiced lightning element Taoist techniques, it was a priceless treasure. Lin Feng smiled until his eyes became a slit, thinking very shamelessly, "Good disciple, just take this as your master's gift. Don't worry, master won't mistreat you." Faintly hearing sounds coming from the forest at the foot of the mountain, Lin Feng quickly put away the Heaven Thunder Moon Jade. Looking down, he saw that on the two sides of the mountain, there were groups of people rushing over here at high speed. One of the groups of people, the one in the lead, was precisely the little guy. He looked as fair and cute as a porcelain doll, but right now he was as nimble as a small mountain beast, rapidly advancing in the deep mountains and old forests. Before, the little guy didn't reveal it all along, only now did Lin Feng discover that this kid who's not even 4 years old actually also has the cultivation of Qi Disciple Level 2. Lin Feng habitually rubbed his nose, feeling a huge pressure. Is that old village chief crazy? Teaching such a young child to practice Taoist techniques. The other group of people were the people from Wolf Village. Lin Feng calculated the speed of both sides and confirmed that it was the little guy and the people from Stone Village who arrived first. He then left the remaining stone skin after taking out the Heaven Thunder Moon Jade, which is the purple crystal that split into two, where it was, and then quickly left the scene himself. Even though the Heaven Thunder Moon Jade has already been taken out, that purple crystal that split into two has been nourished by the jade for so long and also contains a huge amount of spiritual energy. It's a rare treasure. The sky was overcast and thunder rumbled. Lin Feng raised his head and looked at the sky, muttering to himself, "A storm is coming." As Lin Feng expected, the little guy and the others picked up the stone skin first. Even though it was a pity that the true treasure within the stone skin was already taken by someone else, but at least they didn't return empty-handed. The group of people happily returned to the village. The people of Wolf Village were depressed. They didn't get to eat the meat and didn't even get any soup. Naturally, they didn't know that the true treasure Heaven Thunder Moon Jade had fallen into Lin Feng's hands. They only thought that Stone Village got it first. New hatred and old hatred added together, the people of Wolf Village instantly exploded, chasing after the little guy and the others with red eyes. At this time, Lin Feng very coincidentally bumped into the people of Wolf Village. Lang Feng's grandfather Lang Liqing looked at Lin Feng with a black face. "What are you doing here?" Lin Feng had an embarrassed expression. "I wanted to go into the mountains to broaden my horizons. Who knew that I would get lost?" Lang Liqing impatiently waved his hand, no longer paying attention to Lin Feng, bringing the large group of people to continue chasing forward. Lin Feng very consciously followed behind the large group, concealing his cultivation. Walking in the mountains, it looked like he would fall behind at any moment. Those two people? Lin Feng's appearance looked to be in a sorry state, but he had actually been carefully observing the entire time. Very quickly he discovered that there were two middle-aged people in the group that he had never seen before in Wolf Village. The way these two people dressed was also clearly very particular, different from the people in the mountains. The lips of the two people slightly moved, but no sound came out. After Lin Feng's gaze flashed, he closed his eyelids as if nothing had happened. These two middle-aged people were actually both truth cultivators. One of them was Qi Disciple Level 3, the other was the same as Lin Feng at Qi Disciple Level 4. They used their mana to wrap up their voices. Normal people couldn't hear the contents of their conversation, but Lin Feng could hear it clearly. "Old Shen, when that person last appeared 3 years ago, the child wasn't by his side. Could it be that he was placed in this little mountain village at that time?" The middle-aged man called Old Shen muttered to himself and said, "In terms of age, it's just right. But Xiao Qi, that child is already crippled, he shouldn't be able to live to this age." Xiao Qi said, "Right now we'll follow them to Stone Village to take a look. If we confirm that it really is that child from back then we'll cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. Leaving him alive will always be a scourge for young master." Old Shen thought for a bit and nodded his head. "We can't directly make a move or else we'll leave traces. There are people in the Shi family who sympathize with that child and they might find trouble with us. Even though the family can't wait for that child to die, they might not support us. Instead they might hand us over as scapegoats." Xiao Qi smiled evilly and looked at Lang Liqing. "There's nothing to be afraid of directly making a move. Isn't there the best scapegoat right in front of us? Finishing speaking, the two of them both laughed. To be able to take the blame for the Yu family, it can also be considered their good fortune. Lin Feng secretly sighed. Stone Village's old village chief kept his promise and tried his best to hide the little guy's information. But he didn't know that the little guy's whereabouts were already almost exposed. But these two people really came at the right time. Looking at the backs of the two people, the smile on Lin Feng's face became even more brilliant. The selection of supporting roles was also particular. Before, Lin Feng was still worried that the opponent's strength was too low. Stone Village had the old village chief and the little guy, these two truth cultivators. Just relying on these secular practitioners of Wolf Village, going would only be giving the little guy experience. Of course, the opponent's strength being too high was even worse. Firstly, the little guy's personal safety couldn't be guaranteed. Secondly, Lin Feng was also only at the realm of Qi disciple level 4. If he faced an opponent that he similarly couldn't handle, then that would become a joke. Like these two truth cultivators from the Yu family, it was just right. On this side, he was lost in thought when the little fatty beside him snorted angrily, "Later, keep your eyes open and don't give us trouble. Otherwise I'll kill you first." Lin Feng grinned but didn't say anything. Right now he was quietly waiting for the show to start. Wolf Village's people very quickly caught up to the little guy's group. Both sides engaged in a fierce battle. Wolf Village had a lot of people and the mountain people were all incomparably fierce. But they couldn't stand up to Stone Village's two truth cultivators, the old village chief and the little guy. Especially the little guy, even though he didn't have enough experience and his attacks weren't ruthless enough, his strength was enough to crush these secular practitioners. He was like a young cub of an ancient beast, killing the people of Wolf Village until they were in a complete mess. The two sides hadn't even exchanged blows when Lin Feng was like a frightened rabbit, turning around and fleeing without a trace, causing the little fatty to angrily scold, "Coward." Lin Feng sneered in his heart. Of course he had to run long ago. Otherwise, if the little guy and the others saw him mingling with the people of Wolf Village, what would that look like? Finding a hidden place, Lin Feng's gaze firmly stared at those two Yu family truth cultivators. He saw that middle-aged man called Old Chin unhurriedly take out a bone flute and start playing it. The sound of the flute was not pleasant at all. It was hoarse and ear-piercing, like the wailing of ghosts and the howling of wolves. In the next moment, numerous fierce beasts leapt out of the forest. Armored elephants the size of small mountains, black single-horned tigers with horns on their heads, blazing bears with fiery red fur. Every fierce beast was hundreds of times fiercer than normal wild beasts. It required the bravest and most experienced hunters to form groups and set up traps before daring to hunt them. Even like this, they could still pay the price of their lives or even fail the hunt. And right now there were dozens of these fierce beasts surrounding the little guy and the others from all directions, surging up like a tide. Facing the beast tide, the old village chief and the little guy also had no choice but to do their best to protect the villagers as they retreated. Even like this, there were still several people who were killed by the fierce beasts. Dark clouds covered the sky and violent winds whistled. On the ground, the sounds of killing shook the heavens and blood flowed like a river. The situation suddenly took a turn for the worse, and even Lin Feng was caught unprepared. He could only follow them from afar while muttering in his heart, "Run faster, this place is not enough. Go a bit further and lead them a bit further." There were constantly Stone Village villagers being killed by the fierce beasts. The little guy was so anxious that his eyes were red. He could only guarantee that he would not be injured by the fierce beasts. Even if he could save one villager, even more people would immediately fall into danger. The old village chief stamped his feet and threw a leather-like object to the little guy. The old man also took out a small drum. Magic tools? And there are two of them. Lin Feng's eyes slightly lit up. With the help of the two magic tools left behind by the little guy's father, the old village chief and the little guy finally brought the villagers out of the encirclement and fled towards Stone Village. Seeing that the ducks in front of their mouths were about to fly away, the two Yu family truth cultivators glanced at each other and finally couldn't help but make their move. Right now everyone was less than a li away from Stone Village, But it was precisely these few hundred meters that became a natural moat that the little guy and the others could not cross. As soon as those two truth cultivators made their move, the old village chief immediately discovered that something was wrong. "Who are you people?" The middle-aged man called Old Chin coldly said. "Dead people don't need to know." The old village chief angrily said, "Are you people sent by the Sher family or the Yu family? To actually be so vicious, plotting against a child, now you won't even let his life go." That truth cultivator called Shao Qi laughed loudly. "My family's young master is a natural-born supreme being. This little brat, being able to contribute to my family's young master is his good fortune. I'll send him to reincarnate right now. I think he'll be able to reincarnate well." The little guy was at a loss towards their conversation, but this did not hinder his judgment. "Yeah, you guys aren't good people?" After speaking, he did his best to contend with Shao Qi. He had a magic tool on hand, so he was not at a disadvantage against Shao Qi, who was at the 3rd level of Qi disciple at the 2nd level. But he was unable to resist Shao Qi's sinister thoughts. While fighting with the little guy, he would occasionally sneak attack the villagers of Stone Village. The numerous fierce beasts and villagers of Wolf Village also came up to surround and attack. The people of Stone Village were in imminent danger. The little guy wanted to save people, but was entangled by Shao Qi. He was so anxious that his entire face was red, about to cry. Lin Feng hid at the side and said in his heart, "Now, my good disciple, hurry up and use the trump card I left for you. You silly brat, you couldn't have forgotten about this, right?" Not knowing if he felt Lin Feng's reminder, the little guy who was struggling left and right finally remembered the protective talisman Lin Feng left for him. He took out the protective talisman and smashed it towards Shao Qi's face. Shao Qi was slightly startled. Following that, he discovered that the protective talisman seemed to be nothing special. He casually grabbed and pinched the protective talisman. He sneered and said, "In the end he's still a little brat." Before he finished speaking, the protective talisman in his hand suddenly changed. Around him, 9 spots of light simultaneously lit up, illuminating his stunned face. Chapter 4. Xiao Budian took out the talisman that Lin Feng gave him and directly threw it towards Shao Qi. Lin Feng, who was hiding at the side, silently laughed. "Very safe." He pinched a spell and silently said in his heart, "Move." Under the control of his mind, the magic power he left in the talisman started to circulate. The 9 thunder attribute crystals that were previously buried here were also activated at this moment, emitting powerful spiritual qi fluctuations. Zzz, the air was filled with the sound of piercing electricity. Streaks of blue and purple lightning continuously jumped about. Without waiting for Shao Qi to react, the 9 thunder attribute crystals simultaneously shot out 9 streaks of lightning. And the talisman in his hand was like a guide, guiding the 9 streaks of lightning towards him, instantly breaking through his protective spirit energy. "Ah!" Following a blood-curdling scream, the 9 lightning snakes wrapped around Shao Qi's body and wreaked havoc. Old Chen turned pale with fright and hurriedly shook off the old village chief and rushed forward. His palms suddenly opened and closed, surging magic power pounced onto Shao Qi's body, trying to disperse the lightning. Towards Old Chen's actions, Lin Feng turned a blind eye and raised his eyes to look at the dark clouds and rolling thunder in the sky. "Today's weather is good." He shrugged his shoulders. "Do you guys think my 9 heaven thunder summoning is that simple?" Lin Feng's hand sign changed. "Attract." Following the change of Lin Feng's hand sign, the lightning that wrapped around Shao Qi's body suddenly jumped about in unison, full of a strange rhythm and sense of rhythm. In the next moment, a terrifying lightning bolt as thick as a bucket suddenly descended from the clouds in the sky. Its target was precisely Old Chen and Shao Qi, who were surrounded by lightning on the ground. This was the true fatal blow of Lin Feng's 9 heaven thunder summoning ability. Old Chen saw that the situation was not good and did not dare to care about his companions anymore, hurriedly dodging to the side. "No!" Shao Qi looked at the lightning bolt that was like the punishment of the end of the world in despair. He did not even have time to officially reveal his identity. Xiao Budian and the old village chief looked at the lightning bolt that lit up the sky in shock. They completely did not think that the talisman that Lin Feng seemingly casually gave to Xiao Budian would have such power. The villagers of Stone Village and Wolf Village were even more dumbstruck, thinking that the lightning god had appeared. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. The lightning landed with a loud bang. The intense flash blinded everyone's eyes. When they regained their vision, they hurriedly looked towards where Xiao Qi was, only to see a pile of charcoal. When they regained their vision, Xiao Qi, and Xiao Qi were shocked. Only after a moment did everyone come back to their senses. The villagers of Wolf Village instantly exploded and fled in all directions without even turning their heads back. No one dared to stay where they were to make things difficult for the little guy and the others. The vicious beasts that were drawn over by Old Chen's bone flute were also scared until their limbs went soft, and they all ran away with their tails between their legs. The Yu family Qin Feng, Xiao Qi, Wu Xiao Feng, Xiao Qi Xiao, Stone, Elder Wang Old, Xiao Old, Xiao Qi. Elder Chen was stunned for a moment. Then he shouted at the top of his lungs, "We are from the Yu clan. You bunch of country bumpkins dare to kill our Yu clan's people. Aren't you afraid that your entire village will be razed to the ground?" The novice gift pack once again brought him a pleasant surprise. Lin Feng looked at the charred ground that had been struck by lightning and was silent for a long time. After a long time, he let out a long sigh. It's not bad. Although there are too many restrictions and it's too troublesome to use, its power is not disappointing. Lin Feng rubbed his nose. With this 9-heaven thunder summoning as a foundation, it would be much easier for him to convince the old village chief and Xiao Budian when he next appeared. After all, in their eyes, he was able to cause such a huge commotion with just a small talisman. If Lin Feng were to fight Elder Chen and Xiao Qi head-on, he would be able to win. After all, the 9 heavens thunder technique that he cultivated was far superior to the inferior techniques that the two of them cultivated. However, it was impossible for him to achieve such a shocking result. If that happened, his disguise as an otherworldly expert would be exposed. How could he be like now, insta-killing them in one strike, effortlessly and casually, waving his sleeves without taking away a single cloud? As for the remaining Elder Chen who didn't die, Lin Feng didn't take it to heart. Although this person avoided the center of the lightning strike, after being affected he was already heavily injured. The old village chief and Xiao Budian were enough to take care of him. Right now Lin Feng is preparing to quietly sneak into the courtyard of the village chief's house, sitting there leisurely waiting for the old village chief and the little guy to return. This will be able to show his divine foresight, his calm and composed demeanor. At that time, would he still have to be afraid that Xiao Budian wouldn't bow his head? That's right, when the mountain treasure appeared, in order to make it easier for him to travel through the forest, he changed out of his Taoist robes. Right now he was wearing coarse clothes and looked like a normal mountain villager. He had to remember to change back his attire first. The first disciple is finally about to be in my hands. Lin Feng thought happily as he turned around and walked towards the village entrance. Raising his head to look, the smile on his face instantly froze and gradually disappeared, because he clearly saw that at the village entrance, on the originally completely lifeless, charred and withered old tree branch, a new branch actually grew out. On the tender branch were a few pink peach blossoms, bright and glistening, swaying in the wind. Lin Feng swore that when he first came to Stone Village half a day ago, this old tree definitely did not have this bright peach blossom. What made people's hearts palpitate even more was that although this peach blossom looked incomparably tender and beautiful, it faintly emitted a bewitching aura. I just woke up and there's already so much food. Lin Feng's mind was slightly absent-minded. He seemed to hear a low and hoarse voice of a woman slowly moaning at the bottom of his heart. The voice was beautiful and joyous, but it made people tremble with fear. Shivering, Lin Feng came back to his senses. Looking around, he only saw Elder Chen's expression also greatly changed as he looked around in panic. But the others seemed to be completely unaware, still fighting with all their might. Lin Feng suddenly turned around, only to see that the beautiful peach blossom on the new branch, petals were actually falling one by one, flying towards the battlefield a mile away. Light as a feather, completely powerless petals, seemingly weak, but their flying speed was as fast as lightning. Hundreds of petals were like meteors from the sky, swaying in a mysterious trajectory as they flew into the crowd. Elderchen wanted to dodge, but how could he outrun these strange peach blossoms? He made up his mind and slapped over the seemingly weak and fragile petals, directly pierced through Elderchen's palm and stuck to his forehead. Lin Feng's eyes widened, only to see Elderchen's face revealing a horrified expression. Elderchen opened his mouth wide wanting to shout, but no sound came out. Elderchen's flesh and skin, at a speed visible to the naked eye, quickly shriveled, and in the end he directly turned into a dried corpse. The peach blossom petals on the dried corpse's forehead became even more tender and beautiful. Lin Feng's heart directly sank to the bottom. He looked around. All the people or beasts that were stuck to the petals on the battlefield were all sucked into dried corpses in a short period of time. Lang Liqing, who was shouting about killing Tiny to avenge his grandson, Little Fatty, who was not on good terms with Lin Feng. At this moment, the people who were just talking to him at this moment, their eyes had all lost the luster of life, causing Lin Feng to feel a chill all over his body. In the next moment, the petals all separated from their prey that had already been sucked dry, in the night sky, streaked across a pink trail, and once again flew back to the old tree. The peach blossoms once again landed on the branch, gorgeous and dazzling, soul-stirring. Lin Feng stared at the old tree. Sure enough, on the charred black trunk, 2 new branches grew. The peach blossoms on the 3 new branches gently swayed in the night wind, looking so delicate and moving. The fragrance of the flowers wafted with the wind, refreshing one's heart and lungs. But Lin Feng secretly cursed in his heart, "Fuck, there's definitely something wrong with this tree." He carefully observed a bit, and discovered that other than Old Chin, the people who were sucked dry by the peach blossoms were all villagers of Wolf Village. None of those vicious beasts were spared, but the villagers of Stone Village were not attacked. The old village chief and the others blankly stared at the scene in front of them. Suddenly there were villagers who knelt on the ground, worshipping towards the old tree at the village entrance, muttering, "The Peach Immortal has appeared! The Peach Immortal has appeared!" More and more people thought that the old tree at their village entrance was the Peach Immortal appearing to help them kill their enemies, so they all knelt down and worshipped. Tiny Buddy blankly looked at everyone, scratching his head with a confused expression. The old village chief looked at the old tree with a complicated expression, wanting to say something but hesitating. Lin Feng, who had not shown himself, was expressionless, but his heart was cold. There seemed to be a low and hoarse female voice echoing beside his ears. "Let's stop here for today, the rest can be put aside for now. This old tree doesn't differentiate between friend and foe at all. In her eyes, everyone is the same, all are food. The only difference is that she is standing guard at the entrance of Stone Village, not afraid of the people of Stone Village escaping. Maybe there's also a bit of the instinct of a rabbit not eating the grass near its nest?" Lin Feng tried to find joy in bitterness, his mood completely unable to lighten up. Looking at the situation of the old tree's attack just now, easily killing over 100 targets in an instant, among them even included truth cultivators like Old Chin. Even if Old Chin was injured, her attack was still too easy. Just 1 petal from over 100 petals was enough to instantly kill Old Chin. To her, truth cultivators at Chi Disciple Level 4 are no different from these secular practitioners. Lin Feng never hesitated to prepare for the worst. According to his speculations, this old tree demon's strength has probably already surpassed the realm of Chi Disciple stage. At the very least its foundation establishment. Lin Feng rubbed his nose. It wasn't easy to find a suitable disciple candidate, yet it just so happened to be beset with difficulties. The protagonist-level character, was surrounded by so much trouble? While thinking, a system notification suddenly sounded in Lin Feng's mind. System has operated for a full month. Lottery system officially activated. Chapter 5. The system has operated for a full month. The lottery system is officially activated. Hearing the system notification, Lin Feng first stared blankly for a moment, then he had the urge to burst into tears. He had almost forgotten about the lucky draw system. The newbie's gift pack even gave him a chance to draw a lucky draw. Lin Feng turned his head to look at the old peach tree at the village entrance. The villagers of Stone Village had already returned one after another. Looking at the little guy in the crowd, Lin Feng secretly prayed, "My good disciple, since you're a son of heaven-level character, you shouldn't die that easily, right? Persevere a bit, Master will quickly come back to save you." He first distanced himself from the old peach tree, then Lin Feng impatiently checked the lottery system. Entering the lottery system, 3 images appeared in Lin Feng's mind. A die, a roulette, and another one was a blurry gray mass that couldn't be seen clearly, as if it was a cloud. Lin Feng tried it. That blurry gray cloud couldn't be chosen, probably because the system hasn't been opened yet. As for the roulette and the dice, they are 2 different lottery methods. The roulette is like the slot machines or the big wheel of fortune that Lin Feng used to gamble in his previous life. A circle of different patterns, representing different things. Lin Feng spun the roulette, whatever he spun would be what he got. Lin Feng looked, there were a total of 18 boxes in the roulette circle, 16 of them had items, and 2 were empty. 16 items, 3 Dao technique records, 3 types of spirit pills, 3 magic items, 3 talismans, 3 types of divine abilities, and a mysterious chest with a question mark on it. The 3 Dao techniques in the roulette were all inferior to the 9 Heavens Thunder technique, and had no attraction to Lin Feng. The pills were also some normal goods, at least it couldn't make Lin Feng's cultivation advance by leaps and bounds in an instant, to the point where he could fight against a foundation establishment stage enemy. Magic items, talismans, divine abilities. Lin Feng looked around, but there was nothing that could help him take care of that old peach tree. Lin Feng exited the roulette lottery system, and then clicked into the dice lottery system. Silently the 3 dice were placed on a disc. The disc also had a circle of images around it. What was different from the roulette was that each image was labeled with a number, from 1 to 18. There were a total of 16 images, the numbers 12 and 14 were blank. Lin Feng already understood, this was asking him to roll the dice. The number obtained after adding up the number of the 3 dice would determine what he would get. If it was added up to 12 or 14, then he could only return empty-handed. Just like the roulette system, the 16 items in the dice system were also Dao techniques, elixirs, magic tools, talismans, and divine powers. There was also a mysterious box with a question mark on it. Every time, the 16 items waiting to be drawn should be randomly generated. The roulette system and dice system were relatively independent. Lin Feng stared at the items that the die system brought along and looked all the way down. When he saw the magic item that corresponded to number 13, his eyes immediately lit up. This black lightning sky-piercing all was actually a foundation establishment stage magic tool. In the great Tianyuan world, only primordial soul stage cultivators could refine magic treasures. Cultivators below the primordial soul stage could only refine magic treasures. According to the cultivation of the refiner, magic treasures were divided into Yuanying stage, golden elixir stage, foundation establishment stage, and qi refining stage. The 3 Dharma artifacts from the roulette system and the other 2 Dharma artifacts from the dice system were all qi condensation Dharma artifacts. For Lin Feng, who is still only at the 4th level of qi disciple, of course it's also suitable, but wanting to rely on them to fight against the foundation establishment stage old peach tree is completely a fool's talk. But the dark thunder heaven piercing all this foundation establishment stage magic item is different. To qi condensation stage cultivators, it is already an existence close to a divine item. It let Lin Feng have the strength to face the old peach tree. The box with a question mark should be a special prize. It would give an unknown item, but it could also be a scam. Lin Feng breathed in deeply a few times, muttering in his heart, "Dark thunder heaven piercing all, dark thunder heaven piercing all." After working for a while, Lin Feng confirmed to start the lottery. Go! The 3 dice spun together on the disc. Very quickly one of the dice stopped, a big 6. Lin Feng nervously stared at the other 2 dice, secretly cursing the system for being immoral. The 3 dice actually didn't stop at the same time, purposefully leaving people hanging. The second dice also stopped very quickly. Lin Feng's heart slightly relaxed, then tightened. The first two dice were 6 and 5, 11. This means that the 13 Dark Thunder Heaven piercing all, Lin Feng has a chance to draw it. But at the same time, there is also a chance of drawing the 12 and 14 blanks. 2. Lin Feng felt like his entire person became stupid, holding his breath, not daring to even breathe loudly, staring closely at the last dice. Under high concentration, Lin Feng felt that the dice's pulsation slowed down. The dice's pulsation became weaker and weaker, gradually showing signs of stopping. Lin Feng's face was red. He saw the dice land on the disc. The top side was shockingly a 6. Don't move a bit more. Lin Feng anxiously shouted in his heart. 6 plus 5 plus 6, 17, corresponding to a bottle of the most common qi gathering pills. To the current Lin Feng, it was completely useless. As if hearing Lin Feng's thoughts, the dice indeed pulsated again. 2. This time the top side was the 2 that Lin Feng was hoping for. The smile on Lin Feng's face just appeared, then it stiffly froze. Under his gaze, the dice still did not completely land, lightly rolling a bit, revealing a bright red. 6 plus 5, plus 1, 12, nothing. Just as Lin Feng's mood fell from the clouds to the bottom of the valley, the dice trembled and finally flipped sideways. The number changed from 1 to 4. This time the dust completely settled. The number of the third dice was 4. Lin Feng blinked his eyes, looking towards the thing corresponding to the number 15. A mysterious box with a question mark silently sat there. Lin Feng opened the mysterious box with some hesitation. A light gold-sheathed longsword appeared in his line of sight. Even though the sword was not unsheathed, Lin Feng could clearly feel the terrifying power contained within. Northern Aurora Sword, Foundation Establishment Stage Magic Item. Paired with another Foundation Establishment Stage Magic Item Southern Pole Magnetic Sword, the two swords combined can obtain the Golden Elixir Period Magic Item Polar Magnetic Dao Sword. Lin Feng stared at the Northern Aurora Sword for a while. After a long while he let out a long breath. His entire body actually felt like it was about to collapse. Also a Foundation Establishment Stage Magic Item, the Northern Aurora Sword's quality and power is a level higher than the Dark Lightning Sky Piercing All. Exiting the system, Lin Feng's consciousness had already returned to his own body. Looking at the long sword in his hand emitting a faint lightning magnetic force, Lin Feng grinned, the long sword unsheathed, casually pointing a finger and a ray of resplendent lightning shot out, collapsing the mountain rocks in the distance. My first lottery, my luck isn't bad at all. Lin Feng put away the Northern Aurora Sword, the ecstasy in his heart gradually calming down, his mind once again calmly thinking, even though I've obtained a Foundation Establishment Stage Magic Item, my own level is only Qi Disciple level 4, I actually can't completely unleash the power of the magic item. Lin Feng began to calculate his current trump card. The power of the 9 Heaven Thunder Summoning is not bad, but the conditions to use it are too harsh. It's suitable for ambushes and not for direct combat. Also, each time it consumes 10 lightning-type crystals. Right now Lin Feng also doesn't have any extra points to exchange for crystals. The Northern Aurora Sword is powerful, but with Lin Feng's current level of cultivation he's unable to unleash its full power. The Old Peach Tree is very likely a solid Foundation Establishment stage. Lin Feng relying on a magic item that can only unleash a portion of its power can only be said to have the strength to fight. If they really fought, he probably still wouldn't be the Old Peach Tree's opponent. It's a pity his time is limited, no one knows when the Old Peach Tree will attack again. She's standing guard at the entrance of Stone Village, the threat to Xiao Budian and the others is too great, but other than Lin Feng, no one else realized her danger. The majority of the people even treated the Old Peach Tree as the guardian of the village. If Lin Feng ran over to warn them, he would instead be viewed with hostility. Those 2 Yu family truth cultivators wandering around in this deep mountain forest, searching for Xiao Budian's whereabouts. They should still have companions and superiors. There might even be a Foundation Establishment stage expert among them. Lin Feng pondered in his heart, if I can draw the Yu family's experts over and fight with that Old Peach Tree until both sides suffer, then things will take a turn for the better. But I also don't know when I'll be able to find them, there might not be enough time. As Lin Feng was thinking, his heart suddenly slightly moved. A powerful mana fluctuation came from the distance. There were people currently approaching this place with extreme speed. The faint sound of people talking entered his ears. "Junior sister, you should have decided long ago to go to that Xiao family to break off the engagement. It's also not too late now." Before the voice fell, 3 white-clothed people carrying long swords on their backs already appeared in front of Lin Feng. Among the 3, there was an old man wearing a moon-white robe. The old man's face was full of smiles. He was in high spirits, a pair of somewhat small eyes, but a bright light occasionally flashed. It was this kind of seemingly ordinary old man that his entire body emitted a powerful mana fluctuation as deep as the ocean. The mana fluctuation unique to a foundation establishment stage truth cultivator. Towards the first true foundation establishment stage truth cultivator he saw after coming to this world, Lin Feng didn't have the time to pay attention to it. Right now all of his attention was focused on the young girl beside the old man. Lin Feng's face revealed a sun-like warm smile. Countless thoughts flashed through his mind. Break off the engagement? If I didn't hear wrong, the topic they were talking about just now was the legendary breaking off the engagement? Chapter 6. The young girl's facial features were outstanding, incomparably elegant and beautiful. Her whole body revealed a cold and refined extraordinary temperament. On her delicate earlobes hung a green jade pendant. Slightly shaking it made a clear jade sound, abruptly revealing a touch of delicacy. Lin Feng looked like a simple young man who was overshadowed by the beauty of the young girl, feeling ashamed and slightly lowering his head. Actually, he just didn't want others to see that both of his eyes were shining. Breaking off the engagement. Breaking off the engagement. This is the legendary breaking off of the engagement that created countless heaven-defying strong people. Beside the young girl was a young man who was also dressed in a white robe like her. His figure was tall and straight. His face was handsome. The mana waves circulating around his body showed that he had the strength of Qi Disciple level 10. The white-robed young man swept a glance at Lin Feng, then no longer looked at him, his gaze looking towards the mountain rock that was shattered by Lin Feng using the Northern Aurora sword. His brows furrowed. Why did he rush over as fast as he could? Logically, the other party shouldn't have been able to leave in time. The young girl shook her head. If he left, then he left. The white-robed young man suddenly used his mana to cover his voice, transmitting to the young girl. Junior apprentice Sister Yenren, legend has it that Xiao Yan was also a cultivation genius. It's just that he died later on for some unknown reason and became trash now? Murong Yenran was a bit dissatisfied, her eyebrows slightly knitting. There are outsiders here, let's not talk about this. The white-robed young man slightly smiled. He's just a country boy. I used mana to transmit my voice. How could he have heard it? Lin Feng stood still on the spot, blinking his eyes. He still hadn't had time to change out of that Taoist robe and was still wearing coarse clothes, indeed looking like a mountain person. Murong Yenran hearing that shook her head. No matter if he's a genius or a loser, I'm going to break off this engagement. Even Grandpa can't force me to marry someone I've never seen before. Lin Feng's expression became more and more honest, but in his heart he was already overjoyed. Sister, awesome. That's it, not wavering because of the outside world, steadfastly breaking off the engagement. Brother has high hopes for you. He was once a genius, but he was now a loser. Not only that, his fiancée had come knocking on his door to cancel the engagement and slap him in the face. Damn it, this was definitely the treatment of a main character in a fantasy novel. Lin Feng really wanted to go look for Xiao Yan right now. He had finally figured it out. The system's requirements for its disciples were ridiculously high. Perhaps only the legendary Son of Heaven or the main character of a novel would take a liking to them. Although he could not confirm it for the time being, but from Xiao Budian's deductions, Lin Feng was 80% sure that Xiao Yan should meet the standards of a disciple recognized by the system. Wait, this kind of protagonist-level heaven-defying little cow. Lin Feng suddenly thought that as Murong Yenran came to break off the engagement, Xiao Yan, who seemed to be extremely unlucky now, should explode after breaking off the engagement. Although he did not know if he had an old grandpa with him, or if he had picked up a supreme divine artifact when he went out, or if he had found a supreme cultivation technique from the old books left behind by his parents at home. In short, once Murong Yenran came to break off the engagement, Xiao Yan's fighting spirit would be stimulated, and then it would be time for him to turn over a new leaf. How could a golden scale stay in a pond? Once it encountered a storm, it would turn into a dragon. Only a small opportunity was needed to put Xiao Yan on the right track. As an old saying went, the wheel of fate began to turn. Then this guy would immediately become arrogant and uncontrollable. Lin Feng did not intend to change the final result of Xiao Yan's arrogance. He just wanted to change the process of this guy's arrogance, so that he could become the storm that made Xiao Yan's golden scale turn into a dragon. In other words, to be an old grandpa for Xiao Yan. However, Xiao Budian's matter had not been solved yet, and Lin Feng could not get away. If Murong Yenran went to break off the engagement now, and Xiao Yan summoned another old grandpa, wouldn't it be none of his business? This engagement must be broken off, but not now. Thinking up to here, Lin Feng's heart moved, a warm sun-like smile naturally appearing on his face. The white-robed youth smiled slightly saying, "Can't find the source of the mana fluctuations just now, so forget it. We'd better hurry to Wuzhou City's Xiao family as soon as possible. Wuzhou is still a distance away from here." The white-robed old man who had not spoken all along opened his mouth at this time saying, "Yenren, your talent is outstanding, your future is limitless. You are my Celerida's sword sect's core disciple and cannot be wasted on mortals. But going to break off the engagement is, after all, a disrespectful thing. Remember to give that Xiao Yan some compensation." Murong Yenran and the white-robed youth both nodded their heads saying yes, we will solemnly follow Elder Ye's teachings. The white-robed old man Yi Gun nodded his head in satisfaction, preparing to bring the two juniors on their way. From start to finish he treated Lin Feng as heir. Under the effect of the system, even the foundation establishment stage Yi Gu did not see that Lin Feng has Dao cultivation on him. At this time Lin Feng suddenly took the initiative to come up, looking at the three people somewhat fearfully. Three masters, are you the legendary sword immortals?" His expression was just right, 70% admiration and admiration, 30% fear and timidity. Murong Yenran slightly frowned, not responding. The white-robed youth's face revealed an arrogant expression, lightly nodding his head. "What do you want?" Lin Feng's face revealed an overjoyed expression, hurriedly saying, "A monster has appeared in the village I live in. I hope that immortal elder can take action and get rid of it. Our entire village is endlessly grateful. Please, immortal elders, save us." The white-robed youth revealed a disapproving expression. "Desolate villages and wild mountains have many ghost legends. It cannot be taken seriously." Lin Feng continued saying, "I saw it with my own eyes. The old peach tree that was originally struck by lightning suddenly grew new branches and even bloomed beautiful peach blossoms." The white-robed youth waved his hand, interrupting him. "A withered tree coming back to life, it's not a rare thing." Lin Feng repeatedly nodded his head. Yes, immortal elder is right, but that peach blossom can kill people. It killed a lot of people." Murong Yenran and the white-robed youth looked at each other, finally getting interested. "Tell me, how did the peach blossom kill a lot of people?" Lin Feng hurriedly narrated how the peach blossom flew down from the tree and stuck it on people's foreheads, sucking the people dry before the petals flew back to the tree. The white-robed youth raised his eyebrows, listening to Lin Feng's narration. It was indeed the peach tree that became a spirit and caused trouble, being able to fly petals to kill people. This old peach tree has obviously already developed intelligence and comprehended its own talent. This kind of monster usually already formed a monster core and has the value of killing it. Murong Yenran's brows tightly furrowed, looking at the white-robed Elder Yi Gu. "Elder Yi, let's go, otherwise that tree monster may kill even more people." Yi Gu stroked his long beard, asking Lin Feng in detail about the specific process of the old peach tree killing people, patiently confirming every detail. Lin Feng's face was simple and honest, patiently answering every one of Yi Ji's questions. He's not afraid of Yi Ji's questioning, because everything he says is the truth. It's just that it's missing that bit of content. Lin Feng didn't tell them that the old peach tree killing a Qi disciple level 4 truth cultivator is like stepping on an ant. Yi Gu intentionally repeated a few questions, and after confirming that Lin Feng's answers were correct, he finally nodded his head. Slaying demons and defending the Tao is the duty of my Celeritas sword sect cultivators. Today, encountering the tree monster causing trouble, we can't ignore it. This little brother, lead the way in front. Lin Feng couldn't contain his joy on his face, thanking him profusely and laughing in his heart. Very safe. You three, you guys came at the right time, just in time to help me save that big disciple of mine. As the enemy of my future second disciple, if I don't screw you, then who should I screw? Chapter 7. Lin Feng led Murong Yenran and the other two to outside of Stone Village. There was still no time to clean up the place where they fought before. The ground was full of dried corpses, terrifying like purgatory on earth. Not to mention Murong Yenran almost retching seeing this tragic scene. Yigu and the white-robed youth also tightly furrowed their brows, feeling nauseous. The old peach tree at the village entrance, the burnt black and withered tree trunk matched with the tender and beautiful peach blossoms. The strong contrast fell into the eyes, making people feel waves of uncomfortable feelings. The more exuberant the peach blossoms were, the stranger it seemed in this hell-like environment on earth. Lin Feng was just about to speak when a commotion suddenly occurred in Stone Village. The sounds of adults scolding and children crying mixed together. Everyone came from different directions, all escaping towards the outside of the village, avoiding the old peach tree at the village entrance as much as possible. Lin Feng used his eyesight to look over and saw that in the village, bright red peach blossom petals danced in the air, chasing behind the villagers. Those who were stuck by the petals immediately had their life essence sucked clean, becoming dried corpses. Seeing Xiao Budian, who did his best to cover the others in the crowd and escape together with everyone, Lin Feng let out a long sigh of relief, secretly feeling lucky in his heart. Luckily he ran into Murong Yenran and the others. Otherwise, with the old peach tree making a move so quickly, he really wouldn't have any way to deal with this old demon. Facing the peach blossoms that chased out of the village, Lin Feng gave a loud cry, hugging his head and fleeing, seeming to have suffered a huge fright. Murong Yenran and the white-robed youth looked at Lin Feng's figure that already ran far away, coldly snorting in unison. Coward! Lin Feng didn't know that his actions were being looked down upon by people, even if he knew he wouldn't care. Of course he had to run. If Xiao Budian and the old village chief saw him like this, how could he still pretend to be an otherworldly expert? On the other hand, Lin Feng also needed to quickly get away from the Celeritas sword sect's line of sight, preparing himself to make a move. No matter who won or lost between the two sides, Lin Feng would make a move. The old peach tree won. Lin Feng naturally wasn't happy. Right now, not only was Xiao Budian's safety, he also had to ensure that even though Murong Yenran and the others lost, they didn't die and could escape with their lives. At least Murong Yenran, this girl absolutely couldn't die. Otherwise, who would go to the Xiao family to break off the engagement? But if Yi Gu and the other two won too easily, then it would also not be a good thing for Lin Feng. Who knows if they would take a fancy to Xiao Budian's potential and take him into the Celeritas sword sect. Then Lin Feng would lose everything. An internecine outcome was what Lin Feng wanted to see the most. Therefore, carefully finding a place to hide, Lin Feng took out the Northern Aurora sword, closely watching the battle situation. The white-robed youth has already unsheathed his sword, fighting against the old peach tree first. Although Qi Disciple level 10 cultivation is extraordinary and cut down a few peach blossoms, it is far from being the old peach tree's opponent. When the white-robed youth's sword light was about to chop on the tree trunk, the old peach tree suddenly changed. The peach blossoms on the branches all emitted a pink mist, covering the old peach tree. When the white-robed youth's sword light struck the pink cloud, it was as if it had sunk into quicksand, unable to move an inch. Evil creature, how dare you? The white-robed youth's expression changed, wanting to recall his flying sword but was sucked in by the red mist. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't recall it. Not only that, the red mist even followed the white-robed youth's mana and corroded over, counterattacking him. The white-robed youth's face instantly turned red, as if he was drunk and could only bitterly hold on. Yi Gu and Murong Yenran were both greatly shocked. Murong Yenran wanted to help but was stopped by Yi Gu. This tree demon is weird, don't interfere. Yigu reached out his hand and slashed in the air, sending out a streak of invisible sword chi cutting off the connection between the white-robed youth and the old peach tree, saving the white-robed youth and handing him over to Murong Yenran. "You guys back off, I'll deal with this demon." Finishing speaking, he unsheathed his sword and stabbed forward, also sending out a streak of golden sword light. Yi Ji's sword light was a lot more powerful than the white-robed youth's, like a white rainbow crossing the sky. The dazzling sword light chopped straight towards the old peach tree. The old peach tree repeated the same trick. The red mist became denser and denser, blocking Yi Ji's sword light. Circles of water-like ripples appeared on the red mist. The power of Yi Ji's aggressive sword strike was actually also neutralized by her. Lin Feng secretly exclaimed, "Luckily," forcefully taking on the sword strike of the Foundation Establishment Stage cultivator Yi Gu. This old peach tree indeed also has the strength of a Foundation Establishment Stage. Luckily he didn't act recklessly before, otherwise even with the Northern Aurora sword, running to fight the old peach tree alone would be like throwing a meat bun at a dog, going there would be no return. Yi Gu gave a cold snort, the bright sword light turned into clouds and mist, suddenly expanding, the sword chi shot straight up, forming a cloud pillar with an astonishing momentum. The cloud pillar expanded to the extreme, the clouds and mist directly exploded, turning into a locust rain-like sword chi, tens of thousands of them shooting in all directions together. The old peach tree was unhurried, the peach blossoms on the branches all fell, turning into a sky full of flower rain, shooting towards Yi Gu. Different from the seemingly light and powerless appearance before, this time the petals were like sharp arrows, piercing through the clouds and splitting rocks. The sky full of flower rain met with the endless sword chi in the air, exploding into a shocking collision. The flower petals shattered, the sword chi dissipated, the two interweaved together, heaven and earth became hazy. Lin Feng hid in the shadows, beaming with joy as he watched. This is the strength of a Foundation Establishment Stage cultivator, as expected they have some skill. While watching he pondered, if he ran into a Foundation Establishment Stage cultivator, how should he deal with it? Being able to not fight is naturally the best, but if he must fight then he must first set up the 9 Heaven Thunder summoning ambush, then taking advantage of the time when the opponent is dealing with the Heavenly Thunder to immediately use the Northern Aurora sword to attack from the front and back. Success or failure depends on these 1 or 2 moves. If even this kind of attack can't do anything to the opponent then immediately run as fast as you can. Overall, under the premise that there is no preparation, ambushing and sneak attacking, it's not that it can't be fought, but the chances of success are still not high. While Lin Feng was turning his own thoughts on this side, the battle on the other side was already gradually heating up. In the collision of the sword chi and flower rain, Yi Gu seemed to have the upper hand. After the sword chi shattered over 100 peach blossoms, the remaining force did not stop, continuing to blast towards the old peach tree. The storm-like concentrated sword chi landed on the old peach tree. A layer of crimson-red demonic light rippled all over the old peach tree's body, beautiful and eye-catching, taking the bombardment of the sword rain head-on. Like a rainstorm hitting the surface of water, the red demonic light rippled circle after circle. One sword chi might not be able to break through the old peach tree's defense, but this time the attack is more than 1,000 sword chi. Being continuously attacked by such concentrated sword chi, the old peach tree really has a feeling of being shaken by the wind and rain. Murong Yenran and the white rogue youth were both loudly cheering. The stone village villagers that escaped far away also stopped, paying attention to the battle situation. Seeing that Yi Gu had the upper hand, they also cheered in unison. Only Lin Feng's gaze slightly constricted, his heart a bit tight. Something's wrong. He naturally wouldn't worry about the old peach tree, but rather he felt that the old peach tree seemed to be holding back. Seeing that the old peach tree could only defend and not retaliate, the naturally cautious Yi Gu also became high-spirited. The sword sign in his hand changed, his body and sword becoming one, flying up together into the sky. At this moment, the cloud-like sword chi also instantly became a brilliant sword light, man and sword becoming one, chopping straight towards the old peach tree. This attack gave up on the characteristic of the ever-changing clouds and mist, and concentrated all of the power on killing and destructive power. Yi Ji's mana surged, turning into a vigorous sword light that was tens of meters long and as wide as a door. It was mighty and invincible, sweeping everything in its path. But at this moment, a light laugh rang out beside Lin Feng's ears. It's that low and hoarse female voice again. The laughter is filled with disdain and contempt. Lin Feng's eyes abruptly widened, seeing the bright red demonic light around the old peach tree suddenly shrink into a ball of light the size of a fist. The ball of light looks unremarkable, but when Lin Feng looked at the ball of light, he felt his own soul tremble slightly. That is a type of power that has been compressed to the extreme. The destructive power has also reached the extreme. Lin Feng could even see that the air around the ball of light has already warped. The space has a tendency to collapse towards the inside of the ball of light. Yi Ji's expression changed greatly. What a cunning demon! But his move has already been used. There's no time to change anymore. He can only brace himself and attack. Yi Ji's sword light collided with the old peach tree's ball of light, exploding out a dazzling light, so piercing that everyone couldn't open their eyes. The instant the two sides collided, there wasn't much movement, but in the next moment, a deafening explosion rang out. A huge shock wave spread in all directions. The stone village villagers in the distance were blown left and right like straw by the strong wind. Facing the shock wave from far away, Lin Feng also felt a tightness in his chest. The breath that he originally wanted to exhale was actually forcibly suppressed and unable to exhale. In the center of the explosion, a figure flew out, heavily landing on the ground. It's Yi Gu. The current Yi Gu no longer had the sage-like demeanor he had when they first met. The white robe on his body was already dyed red with fresh blood. Murong Yenran and the white-robed youth both turned pale with fright, hurriedly going up to help Yi Gu up. Before they even had time to speak, they were interrupted by Yi Gu. The old man anxiously shouted, "Go, quickly go!" Before his voice even landed, the old peach tree's branches fluttered in the wind, already preparing a new round of attacks. The Celerita's sword sex, 3 people didn't dare to hesitate, supporting each other and fleeing in a sorry state. Right now there isn't any thought of slaying demons in their minds, the only thought is one word: run. And the current Lin Feng instead wielded the Northern Aurora sword, the sword tip pointing straight at the old peach tree. Now! Chapter 8. The battle between the two Foundation establishment stage powerhouses ended with the old peach tree's victory. First showing weakness to the enemy, after luring Yi Gu to advance rashly, decisively meeting the attack with his strongest power, beating this Celerita's Sword Sect Foundation establishment stage cultivator until his face was blooming with peach blossoms. But the old peach tree herself also paid a considerable price. That bright red protective demonic light on her body also disappeared at this moment. She can only use the red mist flower rain to organize a new attack. Even so, it's still not something the heavily injured Yi Gu and the others can block. Yi Gu and the others hurriedly fled. Right at this moment, in another direction, a burst of intense mana fluctuations suddenly exploded, lightning surged wildly, hair-raising. Lin Feng's face was pale, sweating profusely. Above his head, the Northern Aurora sword floated in midair. The body of the sword was covered in lightning arcs, sparks continuously jumping about, the sound of electric currents ringing out wildly. Lin Feng's hands formed hand signs, a bitter taste in his mouth. This thing consumes too much mana, but this is still far from enough. He felt that all of his mana was almost sucked dry by the Northern Aurora sword. Lin Feng doesn't have many chances. Taking advantage of the time when the old peach tree is severely exhausted by Yi Gu is the best chance to defeat the old peach tree. After this there won't be another chance like this. Suddenly, Lin Feng had a flash of inspiration. Oh right, how did I forget that thing? He hurriedly took out the Heaven Thunder Moon Jade, attempting to extract lightning energy from it. This time he almost caused a disaster. How pure and enormous is the lightning essence in the Heaven Thunder Moon Jade, instantly surging into Lin Feng's body, almost electrocuting him into charcoal. Lin Feng's entire body was covered in lightning. His entire body was covered in densely packed purple lightning. Not to mention sparks flying everywhere from his 5 senses and 7 orifices. Even the pores all over his body have lightning energy that they can't contain spurting out. At the moment of imminent peril, Lin Feng revolved his 9 Heavens Thunder technique to the extreme, his mind communicating with the Northern Aurora sword above his head. The enormous lightning energy finally had an outlet, immediately rushing into the Northern Aurora sword like a flood bursting through a dam. Lin Feng carefully controlled the flow of mana and spirit energy within his body, letting himself become the bridge between the Heaven Thunder Moon Jade and the Northern Aurora sword. With the great supplement of the Heaven Thunder Moon Jade, the Northern Aurora sword immediately became powerful. The lightning on the sword became more and more condensed, finally turning into a pure white. Even the Northern Aurora sword itself turned into a sword of light. On the tip of the sword of light, lightning converged into a ball of lightning, its volume becoming larger and larger, revealing a power that could destroy the heavens and earth. Compared to the heavenly lightning summoned by Lin Feng before, it is also only stronger and not weaker. The terror of this lightning ball could already compare to that ball of light condensed by the old peach tree. Lin Feng's movements had alarmed everyone in the battle. Both sides stopped fighting in bewilderment. Although they couldn't see Lin Feng, they were all paying attention to Lin Feng's movements. But before they could react, Lin Feng had already made his move. A beam of incomparably tyrannical, resplendent lightning suddenly streaked across the sky, striking towards the charred old peach tree. Northern Aurora Mystic Light. The peach tree's flower branches shook violently, endless red mist, endless flower rain welcomed the Northern Aurora Mystic Light. The lightning and the flower rain and red mist met in midair. Time seemed to freeze at this moment, becoming infinitely slow. It was clearly only an instant, but it felt like 100 years in the vast ocean. Everyone watching discovered that they could clearly see the flower rain and red mist shatter bit by bit, turning into specks of dust, and then being swallowed by the lightning. The bewitching flower branches, inch by inch, foot by foot, all shattered like flying ash. Finally, the 8 to 9 meter tall old peach tree with a diameter of more than 10 meters was also like broken porcelain, covered in cracks. Shattering, shattering, continuously shattering, shattering again. Countless charred black pieces of charcoal fell onto the ground. This incomparably huge old peach tree was directly smashed into pieces by Lin Feng's Northern Aurora Mystic Light. It was pitiful that it had already suffered a lightning strike before and now it's suffering another lightning tribulation. It can't take it anymore. Seeing the result of his sword strike, Lin Feng let out a long sigh of relief. His spirit was shaken. He doesn't have the ability to do it again. Vast amounts of lightning energy poured into the Northern Aurora sword through his body, causing his body to also bear a huge burden, especially his heart, waves of numbness. But he very quickly pulled himself together, because he faintly saw that after the old peach tree was smashed, there was a white figure that flashed past. Even though it was a fleeting glimpse, Lin Feng's expression changed greatly. That is a barefooted woman dressed in clothes whiter than snow. Her beauty is something that Lin Feng has never seen in his life. Murong Yenran can already be considered a peerless beauty, but in front of this woman she is still slightly inferior. This woman's beauty lies in the fact that there is not a single flaw on her entire body. Her beauty is soul-stirring, beauty that makes people intoxicated, beauty that doesn't seem human. But Lin Feng's heart doesn't have the fiery feeling of seeing beautiful women in the past. He only felt a bone-piercing chill, cold sweat breaking out on his back. The white-clothed woman's hair is loose, she doesn't have any ornaments on her body, but she naturally exudes a bewitching beauty. Lin Feng felt her glance towards him. That low and hoarse female voice once again sounded beside his ear. "My name is Long Yi, please remember it, because, different from her delicate and beautiful appearance, her voice is extremely low, but it forms a peculiar charm that makes people willingly sink in." But Lin Feng can't give birth to any romantic thoughts in his heart, because the latter half of this woman's sentence is like this. "Because I've remembered you." Finishing the sentence, the white figure flashed and has already disappeared, only leaving behind the remains of the old peach tree that was smashed to smithereens. Lin Feng rubbed his nose. If it was possible, he really wanted to say, "Big sister, your memory better not be so good." Being remembered by a beauty is a good thing, but it definitely doesn't include this Long Yi. Only at this time did the others wake up as if from a dream. The Stone Village villagers cheered and jumped for joy when Yi Ge gained the upper hand. Who knew that the situation would take a sudden turn for the worse? The Celerita's sword sects, 3 people were beaten to the point of fleeing. Just as everyone was panicking, suddenly a bolt of lightning like a flying immortal directly killed the tree demon. The ups and downs of life are really too quick. When the villagers came back to their senses, quite a few people were even crying tears of joy, one after another kneeling in worship in the direction the lightning came from. Yi Ge and the other 2 who had escaped for a while were also dumbstruck at this time. The white-robed youth said angrily, "Isn't this guy too good at taking advantage of others?" Taking advantage of the fact that Elder Yi and that tree demon were both injured to make a move. Yi Ge shook his head, looking at the power of that bolt of lightning. The opponent's strength is only higher than mine. What he doesn't know is that Lin Feng can at most only shoot out 1 northern aurora mystic light. Murong Yenran hesitantly said, "Should we go back and take a look?" Just as they were talking, a wave of hostility suddenly came from the direction of the lightning. Once again a strong mana fluctuation emerged. The faces of Yi Ge and the other 2 were ugly. The white-robed youth said angrily, "To dare provoke our Celerita's sword sect in front of us?" Murong Yenran gave him a sideways glance. "Elder Yi is injured right now, we can only let him be arrogant. Forget it, let's go. In any case the tree demon has already been eliminated." Yi Ge sighed, looking towards Murong Yenran. "It's just that we'll have to delay you for a while. Wait until this old man recovers from his injuries, then I can accompany you to the Wuzhou Shao family to break off the engagement." Murong Yenran hurriedly said, "Of course it's Elder's injuries that are more important." Scaring away Murong Yenran and the other 2, Lin Feng let out a sigh of relief, looking towards the little guy in the crowd far away, his heart instantly burning up. After being busy for half a day, it's finally time to reap the rewards. As for the future trouble brought by Long Yi, Lin Feng can only first put it to the back of his mind. Right now his entire mind is that he's finally going to have his first disciple. Hurriedly changing into his Taoist robe and clothing, once again changing into that sage-like expert appearance. Lin Feng snuck back into the old village chief's house, found the most comfortable position and sat down in the village chief's courtyard, quietly waiting for the little guy and the others to return. After a while a group of people followed the village chief and the little guy into the courtyard. They were originally going to discuss how to deal with the aftermath together. Who knew that as soon as they entered they would see Lin Feng leisurely sitting cross-legged, a magic sword placed horizontally on his knees just like that. The lightning arcs jumping on the magic sword from time to time instantly blinded their eyes. The little guy was the first to react. "Taoist priest, it was you who got rid of that old tree demon?" Lin Feng faintly smiled but didn't say anything. Thinking back to that talisman he gave the little guy before that summoned heavenly lightning, then looking at the northern aurora sword on Lin Feng's knees, thinking of that miraculous lightning that split the old peach tree apart, the group of Stone Village villagers instantly cheered. Everyone looked at Lin Feng with a face full of reverence, kneeling down one after another, kowtowing towards Lin Feng to thank him for saving their lives. With how thick Lin Feng's skin is, he also felt embarrassed, but he still needs to continue acting as his expert, so he could only brace himself and carry on. At this time the old village chief also walked up to thank Lin Feng. After thanking, he seemed to have something to say, his gaze hesitantly shifting between Lin Feng and the little guy. Lin Feng looked indifferent on the surface, but actually the corner of his eyes had always been on the little guy, calling out in his heart, "Little guy, ah little guy, quickly come into Master's bowl." Chapter 9. The old village elder's gaze hesitantly moved between Lin Feng and the little guy. "Little guy, ah little guy, quickly come to Master's bowl." Lin Feng shouted loudly in his heart, but on the surface he still looked at the little guy with an indifferent expression, silently asking, "The talisman Master left for you, you used it?" The little guy scratched his head in embarrassment, his little face slightly red. "Yeah, I used it. I also went to look for it later but I couldn't find it." Lin Feng smiled indifferently. "No worries, it was originally left for you to protect yourself. Master also sensed that there was a change in the talisman, so I returned." The little guy smiled and said, "Thank you, Taoist priest, for getting rid of the old tree demon and saving everyone." Lin Feng smiled and took out another talisman and gave it to the little guy. "Keep it well, be careful in the future. Master still has things to do, so we'll say our goodbyes here. We'll meet again if fate wills it." The exchanged thunder crystals have already been used up. Just this talisman alone can't activate the 9 heaven thunder summoning, but this doesn't stop Lin Feng from putting on an act. Finishing speaking, Lin Feng stood up, put away the Northern Aurora sword and walked towards the door. The little guy nodded his head in confusion, but the old village elder was stunned on the spot. He thought that Lin Feng would bring up the old matter again and take the little guy as a disciple. The old man hoped that Lin Feng would take the little guy as a disciple, but he was also worried that the little guy's past would be leaked. Just as he was at a loss, who knew that Lin Feng would actually directly leave? Lin Feng's expression was calm as he walked towards the outside of the courtyard. The surrounding stone village villagers all respectfully and gratefully opened up a path for him. 1, 2, 3. Lin Feng silently counted in his heart as he walked. Of course he can't just leave like this, otherwise what was he working so hard for half a day for? It's just that he has to go through with the act. Since he's acting as an otherworldly master, then he must have the air of an otherworldly master. People often don't cherish things that are obtained too easily. It's the same between master and disciple. If he takes too much initiative, the old village elder and the little guy will instead have doubts. If he's not that enthusiastic, then they will actively stick to him. Sure enough, when Lin Feng counted to 10 in his heart, the old village elder's voice came from behind him. "Immortal elder, please stay. Very safe." Lin Feng laughed in his heart. His expression did not change. He turned around and calmly looked at the old village elder. The old man clearly made up his mind. He held the little guy's hand and walked over. He humbly but solemnly said, "This child has suffered many misfortunes since he was young. To be able to gain the favor of Immortal Elder is his good fortune. I ask Immortal Elder to take pity on this child." Lin Feng knew that at this time he had to show his generosity, so he didn't hold back and calmly said, "It's not that I'm favoring or pitying him, I'm also very happy to be able to continue our relationship as master and disciple, but whether or not he's willing to become my disciple is up to this child to decide." The old village elder muttered to himself for a while, then said to the surrounding people, "Everyone disperse. These past few days a series of big things have happened. The family is in chaos. Go back first." Although the villagers felt strange, the village elder had spoken, so they dispersed one by one. Before they left, they once again thanked Lin Feng profusely. After a while, only Lin Feng, the old village elder, and the little guy were left in the courtyard. The old village elder bowed and said, "This old man has some secrets. Please allow Immortal Elder to report. Please come inside to talk." Lin Feng nodded his head without a care, and the 3 of them entered the stone house and sat down. The old village elder lovingly looked at the little guy. "Little guy, are you willing to become the disciple of this Immortal Elder?" The little guy's big black eyes lit up as he looked at Lin Feng. "Can I learn the same great abilities as Immortal Elder?" Lin Feng faintly smiled. "There are even greater ones." The little guy immediately nodded his head repeatedly with a face full of expectation. "Yeah, I'm willing, I'm willing." Lin Feng's smile disappeared and slowly said, "However, if you become my disciple, then you'll have to leave the village with me. I won't be staying here for long." When the little guy heard this, he immediately hesitated and looked anxiously at Lin Feng, then looked at the old village elder. The old village elder coughed and solemnly said, "Little guy, don't you always ask me where Mom and Dad went?" The little guy blinked his eyes and said, "I have some impression in my mind, but I can't remember." "Grandpa, you're finally willing to tell me?" The old village elder nodded his head and looked towards Lin Feng. "Immortal Elder, please allow me to report. This child, his background is not ordinary and may bring you trouble in the future. He comes from the imperial family of the Great Qin Dynasty and is even related to the Great Qin Dynasty's Yu family." Lin Feng's heart slightly jumped. The imperial families of this heaven primal world are different from the imperial families of Earth. Those who can ascend to the throne and rule over a country are all powerful truth cultivators. The so-called imperial families are more like extremely powerful truth cultivator families that can contend against large sections. Lin Feng knew that the old man was doing his last test, but he will definitely not give up on this disciple of his. What a joke! In front of a true son of heaven-level character like the little guy, it doesn't matter if you are a 10,000-year-old sect or a 1,000-year imperial family, you can only be a background board, a stepping stone. The road may be tortuous, but the future is destined to be bright. What's more, taking a step back, the ultimate mission of Lin Feng's super ancestor system is to establish the #1 sect in history. To complete this mission, he will naturally collide with the existing large powers of the world. Lin Feng's expression became a bit more serious and the corners of his mouth hooked up into a light smile, but he did not say anything. The change in his expression already clearly told the old village elder that he knows the weight of his opponent, but he is confident and not afraid. Sure enough, the old village elder let out a sigh and said with a smile, "This little old man is inexperienced. Immortal elder, please don't blame me." Saying that, he sighed and looked towards the little guy. This child, his background is unspeakably noble, but he has been plagued by misfortune. The little guy naturally has a great name. His real name is Shi Tianhao, and he was born into the imperial family of the Great Qin dynasty. Even though he is not of the imperial family lineage, he is still unspeakably noble. Shi Tianhao's grandfather and father are both great cultivators with extremely high realms, and Shi Tianhao is even more extraordinary. He was born into the foundation establishment stage, and when he was just born, he has already crossed a threshold that most living beings may not be able to cross even after a lifetime of hard work. When a mortal martial artist guides qi into their body, they become qi disciple stage cultivators. When qi disciple stage cultivators establish their Dao foundation, they advance into foundation establishment stage cultivators. The quality of the Dao foundation not only causes a difference in the strength of cultivators of the same level, it also determines the future of cultivation. And Shi Tianhao, this little guy, not only does he have a natural Dao foundation, his Dao foundation is even a supreme Dao foundation that is rarely seen throughout the ages. As Lin Feng listened, his expression did not change, but he was secretly gnashing his teeth and continuously muttering in his heart, "Bone root of 10 bone root of 10? Hearing up to here, Lin Feng was also a bit baffled. The little guy has such astonishing talent, he would be treated as a treasure no matter where he was placed. He would be held in his hands afraid of falling and held in his mouth afraid of melting. How could he encounter a disaster? The old village chief's following narration solved Lin Feng's doubts. It turned out that although the little guy has a natural Dao foundation, he did not show it at the first moment. When his parents found out, it just happened that his grandfather went missing in a dangerous place. The little guy's parents were anxious to find and rescue his grandfather and had no choice but to place the little guy, who was less than half a year old, in someone else's home. This foster care had a little genius called Shi Tianhao, who was a few years older than the little guy. He was born with double pupils and saw through the little guy's supreme Dao foundation. As a result, Shi Tianhao's mother plotted against the little guy and found someone to forcefully seize the little guy's supreme Dao foundation and transplant it into her son Shi Tianhao's body. When the little guy's parents came back, everything was already too late. The supreme Dao foundation had already completely merged with Shi Tianhao. If they wanted to take it back, they had to kill Shi Tianhao, which was unacceptable to the royal Shi family. As a result, the little guy's parents made a big fuss and killed their way out of the Great Qin imperial city. In order to save the little guy who was on the verge of death, they had no choice but to go to a dangerous place to look for medicine. When the old village chief was young, he once went out to wander and learned some simple Dao techniques. He also got to know the little guy's father. Although the two's cultivation was already worlds apart, their friendship was still there. The little guy was temporarily placed in the old village chief's home. It was just that the little guy's parents went out to look for medicine and had not heard from them for 3 years. The old village chief sighed. Before the old tree demon caused trouble, there were already people from the Yu family who found this place. The Yu family is that Shi Tianhao's maternal grandfather's family. I didn't expect them to be so ruthless. Not only did they take the little guy's supreme Dao foundation, they even wanted to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. The Yu family was one of the 4 big families of the Great Qin dynasty. It was also a powerful cultivator family with many strong people in the family. The two people who came to this mountain this time were only the lowest level servants. After the old village chief finished speaking, he sunk into silence and looked at Lin Feng anxiously. Lin Feng was observing the little guy. During the old village chief's narration, the little guy was shocked at first, but after a moment, his entire body trembled. His gaze was blank and finally filled with sorrow. Tears flowed down uncontrollably. "Grandpa, I remember now, I remember now." The little guy's face was full of tears. He was born into the foundation establishment stage, and was far more intelligent than ordinary children. He knew all of the painful experiences of his childhood, but it was precisely because it was too tragic that he intentionally forgot many things. The old village chief sighed again and again. Lin Feng calmly looked at the little guy and asked, "Now that you remember the past, what do you think now?" "My heart aches. Father, mother, where are you now?" The little guy continuously cried. Lin Feng nodded his head. "Kind child." Then he opened his mouth and said, "Don't you hate yourself for losing your sovereign Tao foundation? That brother of yours called Shirtiani was born with dual pupils, and now that he has obtained your sovereign Tao foundation, I'm afraid even other geniuses can't compare to him." The little guy gradually calmed down, wiped his tears and said, "Isn't it just Tao foundation? Sovereign Tao foundation is not a title, it is something that one has to break through step by step. I will wait for him on the primordial spirit." Lin Feng smiled. The little guy turned over and bowed. "Master, please accept me and teach me Tao techniques." At this moment, the system beep sounded in Lin Feng's mind. It was like a celestial sound. "Congratulations to the host for accepting the first personal inheritance disciple, Shi Tianhao. The host has received a lottery ticket and received 500 exchange points." Chapter 10. Fighting the Yu family cultivators, trapping Murong Yenran and the other two, fighting the old peach tree fiercely. Lin Feng worked hard for half a day and finally it's harvest time. Looking at Xiao Budiyan following behind him, Lin Feng's mood has never been happier before. After saying goodbye to the people of Stone Village and asking about the path to Wuzhou, Lin Feng brought Xiao Budiyan on his way. In Wuzhou, there is still a person who is suspected to be the one waiting for him, Xiao Yan. From Stone Village to Wuzhou, one has to pass through the vast mountains and pass through the primitive forest in the mountains. The primitive forest is definitely not the forest in human society. This point, only people who have been here before can understand. The large trees that cover the sky produce an astronomical amount of fallen leaves every year, and in this humid and hot place, it is impossible for the fallen leaves to turn into dry soil. Instead, they go through a long process of decay, turning into a swamp together with the moist soil, becoming the most terrifying trap in the forest. And the insects in the forest are many times larger than those normally seen outside. Swarms of mosquitoes flying and circling around are simply like a flock of hummingbirds. The tree trunk at the side is covered with some lush green old tree vines, gently intertwining, layer after layer, but one time when Lin Feng walked past, hidden in the tree vines, a dark green snake suddenly scuttled out. Lin Feng must admit that for him to travel such a long distance in this primitive forest alone is a very frightening thing. But now with Xiao Budiyan, everything is different. Don't look at how he's not even 4 years old, but Xiao Budiyan who grew up in the mountains is already a wily old fox who lives in the forest. With him opening the way in front, Lin Feng walked while also leisurely checking his super founder system. After Xiao Budiyan became a disciple system branch appeared in the system. Right now there is only Xiao Budiyan in the disciple system list. Name, Shi Tianhao. Age, 3 years and 7 months. Current cultivation, Qi disciple stage level 2. Potential attribute, root bone 10, comprehension 8, willpower 8, fortune 8. Note, the strength of the fleshly body is strong, far surpassing normal Qi disciple stage level 2 cultivators. Recommended education plan. It is recommended to cultivate Thunder Tao techniques. As for divine arts, one can cultivate both divine arts and martial arts. Lin Feng nodded his head in satisfaction. It just so happened that he could teach the little guy the 9 Heavens Thunder technique. He once again opened the lottery system. After taking the little guy as his disciple, The system rewarded him with a lottery ticket. Lin Feng looked at the random items for the dice system and roulette system. He was slightly disappointed. There was nothing particularly good. He could only place his hopes on the mysterious chest. After the Northern Aurora soared last time, Lin Feng already knows that this mysterious chest is actually equivalent to a special grand prize, often being able to open something good. This time, Lin Feng chose the roulette system. In the air, 18 boxes formed a circle, and 15 items were placed inside. There was also a mysterious box with a question mark on it, and there were 2 empty boxes. Boxes, boxes, boxes. Begin. With a thought from Lin Feng, a speck of light appeared on the roulette and began to rapidly spin around the roulette. After roughly 2 rounds, the speed of the speck of light slowed down. Lin Feng nervously stared at the speck of light, calculating in his heart where the speck of light would stop. The speck of light moved slower and slower, getting closer and closer to the mysterious box. The next 3 items are respectively the Flaming Blade spell, the Talisman Suppressing Evil Talisman, and the mysterious box. The Flaming Blade is a higher level spell than the Fireball spell and the Thunder Palm spell. For the current Chi disciple stage Lin Feng, it is just right for him to use. Spells that are too high level have too high requirements and on the contrary aren't that easy to use. The Suppressing Evil Talisman is a very versatile talisman, specialized in breaking evil spirits. Even though it is a one-time use item, if used properly, it is even more practical than the Flaming Blade. The Suppressing Evil Talisman can be found in the exchange system. Both of them require several hundred points. But their attractiveness clearly can't compare to the mysterious box. When the speck of light reached the Flaming Blade, it seemed like it was about to stop. Lin Feng held his breath, not daring to make the slightest sound, but in his heart, he kept shouting, "Pass, pass, pass." As if it heard Lin Feng's heart, the speck of light slowly moved past the Flaming Blade, arriving at the grid where the Suppressing Evil Talisman was. Pass, pass, pass. The speck of light did not disappoint him, and once again moved past the Suppressing Evil Talisman as Lin Feng wished. Lin Feng's heart was blooming with joy. His luck is pretty good, a total of 2 lucky draws, and he has drawn a special grand prize each time. Could it be that my luck is also very high? Lin Feng thought happily in his heart, glancing at the roulette from the corner of his eyes, but he was almost scared out of his wits. The speck of light was actually still moving, and it was about to pass the mysterious box. Lin Feng suddenly became anxious. Stop. Damn it. The speck of light finally stopped trembling, but it had already passed the mysterious box, landing on a grid behind it. Lin Feng fixed his eyes on it, and he couldn't help but be stunned. Spirit Calming Grass. It has the effect of calming and stabilizing the soul, and the main ingredient of the spirit stabilizing pill is rare and not easy to find. Lin Feng frowned, and his eyes were fixed on the spirit calming grass that had fallen into his hands. He just felt a flash of inspiration in his mind, and it seemed that this spirit calming grass would be of great use to him. However, this idea was very vague, and Lin Feng quickly entered the exchange system, found the spirit stabilizing pill, and glanced at the description. The spirit stabilizing pill is useless to ordinary people, but it can help the soul and ghost that have lost their physical bodies stabilize their soul bodies, allowing them to travel far in the day and travel thousands of miles without their soul being damaged and scattered. Lin Feng thought for a moment and gradually had some ideas, but it was not clear enough, and he needed a long time to plan, so he put away the spirit calming grass and continued to look at the exchange system. This time, taking Tiny Tot as a disciple, in addition to the lucky draw, he was also rewarded with 500 exchange points, which was more than the initial funds provided by the novice gift pack. This time, Lin Feng prepared to exchange for a spell ability. He already has the 9 Heavens Thunder technique, and he already has the Northern Aurora sword for magic items, so he doesn't need them urgently. On the contrary, in terms of spells, even though the power of the 9 Heaven Thunder summoning is extraordinary, there are too many restrictions, and there are a lot of inconveniences in actual combat. In the end, the 9 Heaven Thunder summoning is actually a formation technique. The user lays down the formation in advance, and then uses the formation to draw upon the power of heaven and earth. Compared to human strength, the power of heaven and earth can be said to be limitless. It only depends on how much you can mobilize, so the power of a formation technique can be said to be the best of the best. But everything has its advantages and disadvantages. The power of a formation technique is great, but setting it up is not easy. Not to mention that the formation is dead and cannot be moved. Just setting up the formation requires a lot of materials and time, and it's easy to be caught unprepared in an unexpected situation. So this time, Lin Feng decided to exchange for a spell ability. He took a fancy to a spell called Cloud Dragon Escape. Escape techniques are extremely important to a cultivator. If the escape technique is brilliant, if you can't beat the opponent, you can escape. If you can beat the opponent, if the opponent escapes, you can chase. Cloud Dragon Escape is actually a branch of a great escape technique. This great ability is called Dragon Escape. Within it includes Cloud Dragon Escape, Shadow Dragon Escape, Water Dragon Escape, and many other escape techniques with different uses. It's just that the points needed to exchange for the entire Dragon Escape is too high. It's completely not something that Lin Feng can afford right now. He could only settle for the next best thing, and after serious consideration, he chose this branch of Cloud Dragon Escape. Cloud Dragon Escape's escape technique is mainly used for short-distance movement and dodging and shifting within a small area of space. The cultivator steps on dragons and snakes, as if riding on clouds and mist, making the enemy unable to touch the corner of your clothes. It has great value in actual combat. His consciousness retreated from the system, only to discover that Xiao Budian was currently looking at him anxiously. "Master, when can I learn Dao techniques from you?" Lin Feng smiled slightly and patted his head. "Don't worry, you're Master's first disciple. How could Master forget about you?" Xiao Budian's big black eyes turned. "Master, I don't want to be the first disciple. I want to be the youngest disciple." Lin Feng felt a little strange, looking at Xiao Budian in front of him who has red lips and white teeth like a porcelain doll. "Don't worry, although you're still young, you're the first to enter the sect. There's no problem being the eldest disciple. In the future, when Master accepts disciples, they'll have to obediently be your junior brothers and sisters." Xiao Budian came up and grabbed Lin Feng's hand and shook it. "But Master, I really want to be the youngest disciple." Lin Feng curiously asked, "Why?" Xiao Budian's toes touched the ground and he embarrassedly lowered his head. "It's always like this in the village. Every family has a few children. Usually it's the youngest that attracts more love. I'm the youngest child in the village, so everyone loves me the most." Lin Feng dumbfoundedly looked at the little mischievous Xiao Budian in front of him. After a while, he said in a good mood and funny manner, "Little brat, I don't know if I should say you're smart or stupid. That's only in your stone village. It's not like it's the same everywhere. It's the exact opposite. In some places, the younger one is, the more they'll be bullied." Lin Feng looked at Xiao Budian with a smile that wasn't a smile. "You better think this through clearly. If you want to always be the youngest, then that's not a problem. In the future, when those senior brothers and sisters of yours tell you to fetch water to wash their feet and wash their toilets, you better not regret it." Xiao Budian's eyes turned and he giggled as he grabbed Lin Feng's hand and shook it. He smiled and said, "I'll fetch water to wash Master's feet, wash the toilets, and massage your shoulders. With Master here and Xiao Budian being so obedient, I'm sure the senior brothers and sisters won't make things difficult for me." Lin Feng looked at the little brat in front of him and was speechless for a while. In the end, he let out a giggle and poked the little guy's head. You. The little guy revealed an innocent smile as he chuckled happily. Chapter 11. From the head disciple all the way down to the little junior brother, the little guy himself laughed without a care in the world, as if he had picked up a huge bargain. Lin Feng also secretly heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. No matter if it was intentional or not, the little guy did this to help him solve a big problem. Otherwise, when he takes in disciples in the future, people will inevitably have misgivings if they know that there is a not even 4-year-old little brat on top of their heads as the big senior brother. Lin Feng looked at the little guy with a smile, saying in his heart, "Good kid, just because you're so understanding, Master will also cover for you. No matter if it's the head disciple or the little junior brother, Right now Lin Feng only has the little guy as his disciple. He can only experience the pleasure of being a teacher from him alone. But very quickly Lin Feng was secretly depressed, because he discovered that the little guy's comprehension towards cultivation is extremely strong, understanding from small clues, drawing inferences about other things from one instance. Such a high-end Dao technique like the Nine Heavens Thunder technique, the little guy learns it effortlessly. The Cloud Dragon escape technique ability is even more effortless to learn. Compared to the full value of 10 bone frame, the little guy's comprehension of 8 doesn't seem to be so eye-catching. But in reality, 8 comprehension, that's also super genius level, 1 in a million. Lin Feng doesn't even need to do any guidance, like force-feeding everything to the little guy, then he can just comprehend it himself. Facing such a disciple, at the same time that Lin Feng sighed at how extraordinary the main character Halo is, he also felt a mountain of pressure. He must raise his strength as soon as possible, otherwise if in the end any random disciple is stronger than him as the master, that would be too embarrassing. Lin Feng knows very clearly that no matter if it's the little guy in front of him or that Wuzhou City's Xiao Yan, these main characters are destined to step on a path of the strong that is filled with thorns and flames in the future. Like a big magnet with infinite magnetic force, they would attract all kinds of cruel, cunning, powerful and sinister enemies from all directions, like moths flying into a flame, crying and shouting and throwing themselves at them. Of course, after a series of soul-stirring and world-shaking epic battles, Xiao Budian and the others were bound to obtain victory and write their own legends. The problem was, what role would he, Lin Feng, play? For now, he could only be regarded as an enlightened teacher. There were usually 2 outcomes for this kind of enlightened teacher. Firstly, they were important figures in the soul of the destined one. They were life mentors or even spiritual pillars. Once they died, it would often stimulate the destined one's little universe, pushing them to kill in all directions. Old grandpas aren't omnipotent. On the contrary, old grandpas are often tigers that have fallen to the plains. Only then can they meet the destined one who has not yet erupted and risen to power. Even if the old grandpa doesn't die, he could also be captured by the destined one's mortal enemy and tortured to extort a confession, suffering all sorts of hardships, waiting for the destined one to come and save him. Secondly, as an enlightened teacher, they only play the role of a guide, responsible for bringing the destined one into the world of the strong. After that, there's nothing for the enlightened teacher to do. Naturally, there will be a higher-level big shot or a large sex gate that will take over. They are the ones responsible for truly teaching the destined one. One is to be cannon fodder, one is to be a bystander. Clearly, no matter which one it is, it's not what Lin Feng can accept. There's only one way to avoid these 2 situations, and that is to make himself stronger. Even though he was hurrying all the way to Wuzhou, at the same time Lin Feng was also making the most of his time to cultivate and raise his strength. For the current Lin Feng, the Heaven Thunder Moon Jade is a priceless treasure. Through absorbing the pure lightning energy inside, Lin Feng's cultivation speed is several times faster than under normal conditions. If it wasn't because the Heaven Thunder Moon Jade is still acting as the Northern Aurora Sword's energy source, Lin Feng would keep on absorbing the lightning energy inside clean. Xiao Budian is also diligently cultivating, but at the same time he's cultivating, Xiao Budian also has other thoughts. Lin Feng looked at the blushing Xiao Budian in front of him and couldn't help but be somewhat dazed. You sure? Xiao Budian embarrassedly lowered his head. Yeah, it's not that I have to drink it, it's just that I prefer to drink it, just like village chief grandpa loves to drink. Seeming to have thought of a pretty good reason, Xiao Budian immediately became spirited, a pair of big black eyes shining brightly, looking at Lin Feng with a face full of expectation. Lin Feng on the other hand had waves of headache. He never would have thought that the son of heaven-level character, Xiao Budian, is actually 3.5 years old and still hasn't weaned off milk. But thinking of his previous life on Earth, some people also ate milk as food after they grew up, Lin Feng was also relieved. Never mind, drinking more milk is good for the body. The difficulty of hunting instantly increased by a lot. It must be a female beast that is breastfeeding and it also needs to be captured alive. After searching for several days, Lin Feng finally caught a 5-claw purple gold leopard that had just given birth. This is a natural variant. Compared to normal wild leopards, this thing even has an extra claw under its abdomen. It can run as if it's flying, treading on cliffs and precipitous cliffs like flat ground, and can even spit out lightning fire from its mouth. Its temperament is extremely violent. It's not hard for Lin Feng to kill this female leopard, but to subdue her and make her obediently provide milk to Xiao Budian, that's a technical task. In the end, Lin Feng couldn't bear to dawdle with it and directly seized its cub. Under Lin Feng's despicable threats, the female leopard finally gave in. Thus, Lin Feng and his disciple also had an extra mount. When they hurried along, they sat on the 5-claw purple gold leopard. When they stopped to rest, Xiao Budian happily moved closer to the female leopard's abdomen. A few days later, the 5-claw purple gold leopard and its cub were released. It wasn't that Lin Feng was being merciful, but rather that Xiao Budian wanted to change his taste. The little fellow spoke with conviction. 100 beast milk is actually the most delicious. It's much better than single beast milk. Lin Feng knocked his little head. Stinking brat, not only is your mouth greedy, it's also very picky. There's no more 100 beast milk now. Single beast milk should be changed. He couldn't help but sigh. Other than being a master, he also has to be a nanny. The two of them traverse the mountain ridges all the way. Very quickly they will pass through the great mountains. Leaving the mountain range is the plains. Wuzhou City is close at hand. In over a month's time, relying on the help of the Heaven Thunder Moon Jade, Lin Feng has already risen from the 4th level of Qi Disciple to the peak of the 6th level of Qi Disciple. He can already attack the 7th level of Qi Disciple. However, comparing people will kill you, comparing goods will throw them away. In the same month's time, similarly cultivating the 9 Heavens Thunder technique, Xiao Budian also rose from the 2nd level of Qi Disciple to the 4th level of Qi Disciple. Lin Feng was a bit speechless. He has the help of the Heaven Thunder Moon Jade after all. Right now we've already reached the outskirts of the mountain range. I estimate that in a few days we'll be leaving the mountains. Lin Feng sorted out his emotions, his mind gradually immersing in cultivation. I'll strive to reach the 7th level of Qi Disciple before leaving the mountains. Lin Feng silently did his breathing technique, constantly absorbing the spiritual energy of the outside world and bringing it into his body. The spiritual energy stored in his dantian was constantly refined and purified, and then flowed through Lin Feng's meridians, nourishing his soul and transforming his body. After the spiritual energy had circulated 36 times in his meridians, Lin Feng's eyes suddenly opened. All the spiritual energy was gathered together and pushed by the transcendence energy in the first 6 acupoints. It rushed to the 7th acupoint. As time went on, Lin Feng gradually felt a sense of exhaustion. However, there was still no movement from the 7th acupoint. This was a sign of danger. It meant that Lin Feng's attempt to break through this acupoint was likely to end in failure. If he failed this time, he would have to start all over again. Win or lose, it's a one-sided deal. Even though a fine layer of sweat had already gradually formed on his forehead, Lin Feng's expression was completely resolute. His mind communicating with the Heaven Thunder Moon Jade, absorbing thunder spirit energy from within to support himself in continuing to break through. Lin Feng did not use brute force. Instead, he turned the magic power and spiritual qi in his body into a spiral to attack the acupuncture points. While the spiral-shaped spiritual qi acted as the main force to make a frontal breakthrough, Lin Feng carefully extracted a few weak spiritual qi and took a roundabout method to gently and slowly massage the acupoints. Bit by bit, the spiritual qi penetrated into the acupoints, making them loosen up continuously. Attacking from the front and penetrating from the sides at the same time, finally, just as Lin Feng was about to run out of energy again, the 7th acupoint finally changed. The invisible barrier that had always been obstructing the movement of mana and spirit energy, like a dam blocking the river, finally collapsed under the continuous impact of the river water. The spirit energy in Lin Feng's body rumbled and poured down, pouring into the 7th acupuncture point. Plentiful spiritual energy was swirling in his acupuncture points, as though it had become a constantly revolving universe of stars. Here, The spiritual energy was constantly being converted into Lin Feng's own magic power. The 7th level of Qi disciple was completed. A smile appeared on Lin Feng's face. He let out a long breath, expelling all the impure Qi that did not contain any spiritual energy from his body. After doing a few more rounds of breathing and nourishing the newly opened acupuncture points, Lin Feng stood up and stretched. It wasn't easy this time. But I still succeeded. Just as he was feeling happy, the little guy disappeared. Lin Feng sighed helplessly. The little guy, who was not even 4 years old, fully displayed the characteristics of the so-called naughty child. He jumped up and down, unwilling to calm down for even a moment. Now, he ran off somewhere crazy again. After successfully cultivating the cloud dragon escape, the birds and beasts in the mountains suffered even more misfortune. This time, when Lin Feng was attacking the 7th acupuncture point with all his strength, the little guy was distracted by a beautiful yellow sparrow. The little guy chased the yellow sparrow into the depths of the forest. Although the yellow sparrow was not big, it was still a strange species. Its flying speed was as fast as lightning. The little guy, who was at the 4th level of Qi disciple, pounced on it a few times without being able to catch it. The little guy was not discouraged. He thought of Lin Feng's teachings. Being rash and impatient is of no use. Carefully investigate the details of the target, and naturally, it will be easy. Thinking of this, the little guy no longer blindly pounced on it. Instead, he patiently observed the flying trajectory of the yellow sparrow. After a moment, the little guy suddenly jumped up. The magic power of the 4th level of Qi disciple surged within his small body. In a flash, he arrived in front of the yellow sparrow. At this time, the yellow sparrow wanted to run again, but it was too late. It was caught by the little guy. The little guy happily laughed and stroked the yellow sparrow's wings. Just as he was playing happily, he suddenly felt something. He turned around and saw a red-robed youth looking at him with a surprised expression. Chapter 12. The red-robed youth was of course shocked. The little guy in front of him actually reached the 4th level of Qi disciple at such a young age. Even in the sect he is in, this kind of talent is one of a kind. If I bring this little guy back, the elders in the sect will definitely go crazy. Even the sect leader won't be able to sit still. At that time I'll have done a great service. Thinking up to here, the red-robed youth's heart instantly warmed up, smiling as he looked at the little guy. The little guy glanced at the red-robed youth a bit vigilantly, but on his face he still had an innocent look. The red-robed youth smiled and said, "Little kid, where's your family?" The little guy blinked his eyes. "I came out with master." The red-robed youth asked, "Which sect are you from? Who's your master?" The little guy shook his head. "I don't have a sect. Master is master. There's a way. Looks like his master isn't from some large sect. He's probably a wandering cultivator." The red-robed youth was completely at ease, his face unconsciously revealing a hint of reservation. "Little kid, meeting me today is your destiny. Come, follow me back to the mountain. I'll teach you supreme techniques and help you achieve the great way." Xiao Budian blinked his big black eyes. His face was at a loss. The red-robed youth came to his senses and secretly scolded himself for being muddle-headed. This little guy in front of him, no matter how talented he is still a child. So he changed his tone. "Brother is a disciple of the Blaze Sword sect. Have you heard of the Blaze Sword sect? Under the heavens, the strongest sect is our Blaze Sword sect. If you enter my sword sect, no one will dare to bully you anymore. Between heaven and earth, you can completely do whatever you want." The little guy opened his mouth and finally said, "But I already have a master." The red-robed youth smiled indifferently. "That's fine, you can still enter my Blaze Sword sect. Bring me to see your master, I'll go talk to him, he'll naturally agree." He lightly smiled and shook his head. "If that master of yours is really looking out for your own good, he will naturally agree to let you join my Blaze Sword sect. Because only this way will you get the best development and won't let your talent go to waste. What can a wandering cultivator teach you? It is a complete waste and burying of your talent." After the red-robed youth glanced at Xiao Budian, he slowly continued, "Of course, if he's willing he can also join my Blaze Sword sect as a guest. We naturally won't treat him badly." This way you can also see him often. This is the best result for everyone. In the eyes of the red-robed young man, it was really his good fortune that a small rogue cultivator could become a guest of his own sect. When the other party received this promise, wouldn't he offer up his disciple? At that time, there would be no need for him to persuade the little guy's master to urge him to join his sect. While the red-robed youth was happily thinking, he saw the little guy in front of him smile, turn around, and fly backwards, leaving behind only a shadow that was getting smaller and smaller. What does that mean? The red-robed young man was stunned. He was too happy, so he rushed back to tell his master? The red-gowned youth really hoped for this result, but his intuition told him that it was not optimistic. The red-gowned youth did not dare to hesitate, and quickly chased after the little guy. Originally, he thought that it would not take much effort to catch up to Xiao Budian, but after just 2 steps, the red-gowned youth was shocked. Xiao Budian let out a clear whistle. Under the agitation of his mana, the muscles and bones all over his body seemed to have connected into a line. His entire person transformed into a huge dragon that flew beyond the heavens, twisting and turning in the clouds, appearing and disappearing. The ability of the cloud dragon escape was used by Xiao Budian. It was really like a dragon that could see its head but not its tail, a dragon that hid its head and disappeared without a trace in the clouds. After a few ups and downs in the dense forest, Xiao Budian disappeared from the red-robed youth's line of sight, causing him to stop in shock and stare dumbstruck. I have the cultivation of Qi Disciple level 6. I was actually thrown off by a little kid at Qi Disciple level 4? What he did not know was that Xiao Budian was also very dissatisfied in his heart. I still haven't used this escape technique to its fullest. If it was Master who used it, he would have thrown off that red baboon with a flash. The little guy was more cautious, purposely circling a few rounds in the dense forest. Only after confirming that he had completely thrown off the red-robed youth did he run back to meet up with Lin Feng. Hearing Xiao Budian talk about what happened, Lin Feng secretly frowned. The Blaze Sword Sect. Even though Stone Village's old village head's cultivation level is not high, but when he was young he traveled extensively and was quite knowledgeable. Before leaving Stone Village, Lin Feng once had a conversation with him and quietly obtained a lot of information. This Blaze Sword Sect is the same as the Celerita Sword Sect. They are both top sects within the borders of the Great Qin dynasty. There are countless strong people in the sect. A foundation establishment stage cultivator like Yi Gu is nothing but a small character. What's worse is that these 2 sword sects are both members of the Nine Heaven Sword Alliance. The Nine Heaven Sword Alliance is an alliance formed by 9 sword sects. They have always been of the same breadth and branch. The leading Mount Shu Sword Sect is even more so the supreme holy land of the Way of the Sword. Together with the Buddhist Great Thunder Temple and Taoist Taishu Temple, they are known as the 3 holy lands of the Tianyuan Great World's cultivation world. The red-robed youth saying to Xiao Budian that his sect is the strongest is undoubtedly boasting. Don't mention the 3 holy lands and some other top sects. Just in the Nine Heaven Sword Alliance, the Blaze Sword Sect can only be considered to be at the middle level. But the Blaze Sword Sect is indeed one of the strongest forces in the Tianyuan Great World. There is no doubt about this. Lin Feng glanced at Xiao Budian. The little guy's black hair hangs down to his shoulders. His big eyes are black and bright, very spirited. He looks clean and white, pretty and cute. My good disciple, you're like a firefly in the dark, so bright and so outstanding. Those melancholic eyes of yours, the milk stains left at the corner of your mouth and your godlike talent all deeply betray you, attracting all sorts of bad people to come closer to you one after another. Lin Feng secretly smiled bitterly. Today's failed poaching incident reminded him. Right now he can also be considered a man without sin, but treasuring a jade ring becomes a crime. Right now Xiao Budian, who has already been taken in, as well as the disciples who may be taken in the future, because of the system's rigid standards, are destined to be some nature-defying, monstrous-level characters. If he doesn't have enough strength, even if these disciples themselves don't betray the sect, they will still attract the covetous eyes of other forces to rob them. This is different from before when he lured the Celerita's sword sect to fight with the peach demon Long Yi. The reason why he was at ease and boldly tricked the Celerita sword sect is because as the enemy of Xiao Yan, that kind of true son of heaven, the Celerita Sword Sect is destined to become a stepping stone. But right now the Blaze Sword Sect is different. This is an enemy that Lin Feng himself made. But so what? Lin Feng smiled coldly. Towards this kind of large force, of course it's best not to offend them if possible. But since the matter involves Xiao Budian, then there's no discussion, just one word. He spent so much effort to take Xiao Budian in as a disciple, how can he just give it up? Not to mention that the system is still waiting for him there. If he can't gather 4 disciples recognized by the system within a year, then the system won't be courteous with him. Chapter 13. After making up his mind, Lin Feng's mind turned rapidly. The person that Xiao Budian met is most likely just a small fry. Should I go back and find him and directly silence him to prevent the great cultivators of the Blaze Sword Sect from finding us? After thinking, Lin Feng still gave up on the idea of going back to find trouble with him. Whether or not the Red Rogue youth is acting alone, whether or not he has companions nearby, Lin Feng has no idea at all. In the end, he still doesn't plan to take the risk. Lin Feng knocked Xiao Budian's head. Stinking brat, do you still dare to run around in the future? Xiao Budian scratched his head in embarrassment, laughing happily. Exiting the mountains is a flat plain. Lin Feng master and disciple very quickly arrived at Wuzhou City. Walking on the streets of Wuzhou City, looking at the endless stream of people, Lin Feng's face revealed a smile. He's been in this world for almost 3 months and has always been in the mountains. It's been a long time since he's seen such a lively scene. 3 months? Lin Feng lightly sighed. A quarter of the mission time has already passed and only a quarter of the mission is completed. There's still a very long way to go. Lin Feng raised his spirits and asked people about the location of the Xiao family. Even though Wuzhou City is located at the southeast border of the Great Qin dynasty, it is an important trading town in the southeast of the Great Qin. This place is next to the boundless mountains. The precious medicinal herbs and beast bones and other goods produced in the mountains are all gathered and distributed in Wuzhou City and then sold all over the country of the Great Qin. The Xiao family that Xiao Yan comes from can also be considered a large power in Wuzhou City, controlling more than a third of Wuzhou's medicinal herb trade. Of course, a local power like the Xiao family can't be compared at all to a colossus like the Celerita Sword Sect. After Xiao Yan's genius became trash, it's no wonder that Murong Yenran would come to break off the engagement under the support of the sect. The main point that Lin Feng asked people about is whether or not anything big has happened in the Xiao family recently, whether or not outsiders have come to find the Xiao family. After hearing that Murong Yenran and the others still haven't come to find him, Lin Feng relaxed, knowing that he didn't come late. Yi Gu and the old peach tree had a big battle and was injured by the old peach tree. Looks like his injuries are really not light and will need a very long time to recover. Murong Yenran most likely has to wait for Yi Ji's injuries to more or less recover before coming to Wuzhou to break off the engagement. Lin Feng started to worry about personal gains and losses again at this time. If Yi Ji's injury takes half a year to recuperate, could it be that he has to keep foolishly waiting for him in Wuzhou City? I'll find a chance to meet Xiao Yan in person first and test him with the talent detector. In this Wuzhou City, Xiao Yan can also be considered a famous person. Only started cultivating at the age of 8, reached the 5th level of Qi disciple a year later, great perfection of Qi disciple at the age of 12. This kind of cultivation speed, not to mention in the Xiao family, in Wuzhou City, it is also famous far and wide in the entire Great Qin dynasty. Even though the Xiao family is also a cultivator family, it is merely a local power in Wuzhou City. The Dao techniques they practice are only third-rate. For Xiao Yan to be able to have such astonishing achievements, if he practices superior Dao techniques, then his achievements will be even more limitless. Rumor has it that the reputation of Xiao Yan at that time even alarmed one of the 3 holy lands, Taishu Temple. They were prepared to send people to inspect him and take him in. The youth at that time was confident and had a boundless future. He was about to reach the foundation establishment stage at the age of 13 that countless cultivators might not be able to reach in their entire lives. Furthermore, he became the successor of a holy land and wrote his own legend. How high-spirited! He was in high spirits. But the development of the situation took a sharp turn for the worse in the year Xiao Yan was 12 years old. Xiao Yan, who has already broken through the 12th floor, great perfection of Qi disciple, all of his mana suddenly disappeared in one day. The acupoints that were originally broken through were also resealed one by one. The realm of great perfection of Qi disciple bizarrely regressed back to the first level of Qi disciple. Xiao Yan also instantly fell from the clouds to the bottom of the valley. There was no movement from the Taishu temple that was rumored to be coming to inspect. The praises around him turned into sighs, even malicious mockery. Everyone in Wuzhou City is using pitiful gazes to watch that former genius fall from the altar. Xiao Budian, who is beside Lin Feng, after hearing about Xiao Yan's misfortune, also had a sad expression. It's also very hard for him. Lin Feng agreed without minding, but in his heart his blood was boiling. Fuck, this is completely the destined one, the template of a protagonist. Even using your knees to think you can imagine that this Xiao Yan suddenly turning from a genius to a good-for-nothing, there is definitely a hidden story. Just like the so-called first restraining then rising, without being suppressed to the extreme right now, how could there possibly be an explosion? And that Murong Yenran coming to slap his face and break off the engagement is the critical point of the explosion. Once the engagement is broken off, this Xiao Yan should turn from extreme misfortune to happiness. From then on he will step onto a path of killing in all directions and taking in everything. Lin Feng calculated in his heart, Xiao Yan going from a genius to a good-for-nothing, there is definitely some reason. This thing is also often a cheat for Xiao Yan to rise in the future. In other words, it's my competitor. Murong Yenran and the others haven't arrived yet. Lin Feng still has time to calmly make arrangements. First, find a place to stay in the city. After settling down Xiao Budian, Lin Feng went to the vicinity of the Xiao family mansion. After wandering around for a few days, he didn't see Xiao Yan and didn't wait for Murong Yenran to come to his door. Lin Feng couldn't help but become anxious. Lin Feng considered directly coming to pretend to be an expert, not waiting for Murong Yenran to break off the engagement. He would first take in Xiao Yan. But there would be a lot of problems in this way. To put it in a fantasy way, if the engagement had not broken off, Xiao Yan's luck might not have changed. To put it in a more realistic way, if the engagement had not broken off, Xiao Yan's desire for power would not have been so urgent, and his self-esteem would not have been hurt and his heart would not have been filled with anger because of the engagement being broken off. Different from Xiao Budian, Xiao Yan was already a 15-year-old teenager and had the most basic judgment. If he didn't lose his cool because of the engagement being broken off, he might not be so easy to fool. After thinking, Lin Feng decided to quietly wait for Murong Yenran to come to his door and then take action. Just as he was thinking, the sound of the system suddenly sounded in his mind. Target found, suitable to be the host's direct disciple. Lin Feng was stunned for a moment. Holy shit! Hurriedly raising his head, he saw a teenager in black walking out of the Xiao family mansion. Seeing the teenager in black come out, the street outside the mansion became quiet for a moment. Everyone's eyes flashed on the teenager in black, and whispers rose up. Obviously, they were talking about the teenager in black. The teenager had delicate features and was expressionless. Seeing the reaction of the people on the street, he showed a self-mocking smile and kept walking forward. Lin Feng's eyes fell on the teenager in black all the time, and the sound of the system's warning kept sounding in Lin Feng's mind. The talent system has finished sorting out. The information of the second target is as follows. Root 8, Comprehension 9, Will 9, Luck 8. Conclusion, the target has extremely high talent. It is recommended to take him as a disciple and teach him carefully. He will definitely become a pillar of the faction. Lin Feng took a deep breath and showed a warm and sunny smile on his face. The second one. His eyes began to search Xiao Yan's body. If he had a cheat, it would be a ring, a bracelet, a necklace, or something because it was convenient to carry, but there was nothing on his hand. On his neck, well, there was a rope and there were 2 rings on the rope. They were black and swarthy, very inconspicuous. Lin Feng touched his nose and smiled. As expected, there are rings, and there are 2 of them. I bet that there is definitely a master. Wait, Something seems wrong. 2 rings? Damn it, what is this situation? Lin Feng stared blankly at the 2 rings on Xiao Yan's chest swaying, and they even touched each other, giving off a deep and crisp sound. Chapter 14. It was not until Xiao Yan's figure gradually disappeared that Lin Feng came back to his senses and hurriedly followed him. Xiao Yan actually had 2 rings, which was something that Lin Feng had not expected. He felt uneasy. Could it be that Xiao Yan actually carries 2 grandpas with him? Damn, coach, I want to report this. This is totally against the rules. Maybe only 1 ring has an old grandpa, and the other is just a very ordinary ring? Lin Feng pondered. This is not impossible. Even the 2 rings are very ordinary, and there isn't even an old grandpa? Or one has an old grandpa living in it, and the other has something like a hidden artifact? Many questions hovered in Lin Feng's mind, and he could not find an answer no matter how hard he thought. While thinking, he had already followed Xiao Yan to a small lake in the north of the city. Lin Feng observed the surrounding environment. There were very few people. It seemed that this was Xiao Yan's private land. When he was unhappy, he would come here alone to be alone. Noting this place down, Lin Feng nodded inwardly. After the engagement was broken off, Xiao Yan would probably hide here alone to lick his wounds, and then it would be the old grandpa's turn to appear. By the lake, the black-clothed youngster lay down on the grass with his hands behind his head and his head as a pillow. He held a grass stalk in his mouth and swayed. Standing in the distance, Lin Feng looked at Xiao Yan with a gloomy expression. Now he began to seriously think about how to take Xiao Yan in as his disciple before Murong Yenran broke off the engagement. Otherwise, when the engagement was broken off, if he activated 2 old grandpas at once, the pressure would be too great. As Lin Feng was thinking, he saw several youngsters walking toward Xiao Yan, and they seemed to have bad intentions. Sighing inwardly, Lin Feng shook his head with a pitiful expression. He was not pitying Xiao Yan for being bullied by a dog when he was down, but he was lamenting that those youngsters did not know what was good for them. Yes, that's right, Xiao Yan was currently unlucky. He looked like an easy target to bully, but one had to know that there was a price to pay for bullying someone like him. After the engagement was annulled, Xiao Yan would immediately be able to turn over a new leaf. At that time, he would be able to send hundreds of these small fries flying with just a sneeze. But without waiting for Xiao Yan to make a comeback, these people wouldn't be able to take advantage of him now. For Lin Feng, this was an opportunity that came knocking on his door. He lowered his head to check his Taoist robe and adjusted the star crown on his head. After making sure that his appearance was flawless, Lin Feng coughed dryly and prepared to enter the stage. If you want to exchange pointers, there is no need for Big Brother Xiao Yan to make a move. Zhen will exchange a few moves with you. Hearing this, Lin Feng almost tripped on the Taoist robe and hurriedly stopped his footsteps. Looking into the distance, he saw a young girl wearing a purple dress standing in front of Xiao Yan, silently looking at those people provoking Xiao Yan. The young girl's cool and indifferent temperament was like a lotus blooming for the first time. At such a young age, she already had a refined temperament. It was hard to imagine how devastatingly beautiful the young girl would be when she grows up in the future. Watching from afar, Lin Feng also secretly praised. This girl could already be said to be exceptionally beautiful at such a young age, even surpassing Murong Yenran by a bit, directly approaching that peach-tree demon Long Yi. When this Zhen grows up a bit, she might be able to rival Long Yi. It's just that she really came at a bad time. Before Lin Feng had the time to regret, he suddenly heard the system's notification sound. Discovered target, suitable to become the host's direct disciple? HM? Could it be that my luck changed? Lin Feng blanked, then became overjoyed. Looking at the purple-clothed girl again, it was as if he was looking at a golden chicken that could lay golden eggs. Talent system has finished organizing. Target number 3's information is as follows. Bone aptitude 9, comprehension 8, will 7, fortune 6. Conclusion, target has high talent, recommended to take her in as a disciple and carefully guide her. She will definitely become a pillar of the sect. Special note, the target's current cultivation level is higher than the host's by a large realm. Lin Feng happily listened to the system notification sound, but when he heard the last sentence, he froze. Higher than me by a large realm, doesn't that mean she's a foundation establishment stage cultivator? Lin Feng swallowed, carefully observing the purple-clothed girl. He saw that the mana around her body was abundant, forming a cycle, as if it was endless. This is precisely the sign of the peak of Qi Disciple Level 12. The peak of Qi Disciple Level 12, all 12 acupoints have been opened, completely connected as one. The mana stored in the acupoints is no longer isolated as a pool of stagnant water like before, but has turned into a surging river, continuously circulating within the cultivator's body. Generally speaking, Qi Disciple Level 12 cultivators are far stronger than Qi Disciple Level 11 cultivators. But the foundation establishment stage is a completely different concept. If the peak of Qi Disciple Level 12 is a river, then the foundation establishment stage is the sea. The two can't be mentioned in the same breath. Although no matter how Lin Feng looked, the purple-clothed girl's cultivation level is at the peak of Qi Disciple level. Since the system said she's at the foundation establishment stage, Lin Feng decided to believe it. Who knows if this girl has some kind of method to hide her cultivation level? Knowing that this girl's strength is at the foundation establishment stage, Lin Feng immediately dispelled the idea of trying to take her as a disciple in the near future. There is no other reason. This girl definitely has a big background. Reaching the foundation establishment stage at the age of 13 or 14, this cultivation speed is even more terrifying than Xiao Yan's. The two's bone aptitude and comprehension are not much different, which means that this purple-clothed girl has received much stronger cultivation resources than Xiao Yan. Before figuring out her background, Lin Feng won't act rashly. Of course, she can be used as a long-term goal. In the near future, the main focus is still Xiao Yan, the destined one. With the purple-clothed girl taking the lead, the youths who tried to provoke Xiao Yan can only retreat in defeat. The group of people left the lakeside, cursing as they walked. I really don't understand why Miss Jin Air wants to protect that trash. That's right, it's simply inconceivable. Hearing this, Lin Feng couldn't help but secretly laugh. This Miss Jin Air, 9 out of 10, is prepared for Xiao Yan, the destined one, to be the empress. With a deep background, she can be of help to Xiao Yan. Her own talent is high, and her cultivation speed can also keep up with Xiao Yan's pace, so she won't be marginalized. Her personality is also not bad, gentle and strong, soft on the outside but hard on the inside, and she loves Xiao Yan to the bone. This is simply the perfect template for the empress. While letting his imagination run wild, Lin Feng followed those youths. Walking to a place where Xiao Yan and Jin Air can't see, Lin Feng smiled and asked, "Is that the Xiao family's genius that everyone in the city knows? Why does he only know how to hide under a woman's skirt?" Those youths all stared blankly for a moment, then they had a great feeling that Lin Feng's words had simply touched their hearts. One of them sighed, "You don't know, that's because Miss Jin Air cherishes old friendships. She and Xiao Yan grew up together, so even after Xiao Yan became a trash, she still protected him." A youth next to him coldly snorted, "But that trash's skin is too thick," using Miss Jin Air. "If I were him, I would have already found a hole to hide in." After Lin Feng smiled and echoed with a few sentences, he seemingly unintentionally asked, "Why do I see that Xiao Yan is wearing a rope around his neck, and there are 2 rings hanging on it? This is quite interesting, this is the first time I've seen it." A youth curled his lips. One was left by his father, and the other was left by his mother. His parents are both dead now, and we all say that those 2 rings are cursed. Only Xiao Yan still treats it as a treasure and carries it with him, afraid of losing it. Hearing this, Lin Feng's vision darkened. Damn, parents' belongings, this time it can't be wrong, double the inheritance, double the opportunity, double the grandpas. Lin Feng turned around and left. Of course, he didn't want to give up on Xiao Yan, but he wanted to make more adequate preparations, and he wouldn't stop until he succeeded. So what if there are 2 grandpas? The disciple is mine. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.